So Chris, and he brought a young boy, a 13-year-old young black boy from his area up there where he's from, who is being raised without a father. And Chris took him in under his wing to kind of be dad to him. Chris is not a pedophile. He's on a registry, but he shouldn't be, okay? But he's not a pedophile. There's nothing dangerous about Chris Jones, okay?
You know, he's so excited about this whole trip that he's telling me everything.
Yeah. So
when he went to say, well, Chris touched me with a paper towel on, and I was like, what you mean, with a paper towel? Well, he touched me with the paper towel. I said, touched you well. He said, down there. I immediately walked outside. I said, Zaire, you stay right here.
Yeah.
I talked to my boyfriend about it, and he said when he walked in that Chris spoke to him for a few minutes. They walked towards the back. And this is what he told me when he told me the story. I'm not trying to bring up today what he already told me. I remember this story because it still takes me down through there. You know, if since I'm speaking a little slang right now, but that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yep. He told me, and that's how I know. I ain't asked this boy about this story in over 4 months, and it's still the same story. But I don't need the details because I already asked you the details. Right. He told me that Chris was acting like he was getting him, Zaire and Chris, a drink from the back cooler. And it wasn't no lights on back there. I know that very well. I've been working for Boost Mobile with Chris for 6 months. There are no lights back there.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden, Chris pulled Zaire's pants and underwear down, and he went to touch him with the paper towel.
Then he wanted to stay the night at the house that Cindi owns. When she gave the program the other night, she was real deceitful about that. She said, yeah, it's a house near there that DAL controls. Cindi, you're lying through your teeth. That's a house that you own that was just bought. It was empty.
As you guys can see here on screen, the deed to the property that Kent Hovind is talking about shows that Cindi Lincoln bought the deed and claimed ownership of the property on December 17th, 2019. A full 3 weeks after Chris Jones and Zaire had left the DAL property.
Tell everybody, I have studied a little bit, actually quite a bit, karate and judo, and if I body slammed her, she'd still be sleeping. Okay.
And he has just been sentenced to jail again, this time for beating his wife till she ended up in a hospital.
Larry, you are lying through your teeth. I did not beat my wife. I never hit her one time. It's still in the court. She didn't go to the hospital. Freddie, our cook, took her to a chiropractor. She did not go to the hospital.
So, as we could see from those two clips, Kent Hovind claims that not only did he not body slam Cindi Lincoln to the ground, but that she also never went to the hospital after the fact. Well, there are two reasons why we know that Kent Hovind is lying here. Reason number one, which you can see on screen, is a statement from the Monroe County Hospital where Cindi Lincoln visited right after the attack happened, and you can see that she was billed for the services that they rendered to her to treat her after being attacked. The other reason why we know that Kent Hovind is lying is because you can see on screen here the chiropractor's report. Because you see, after Cindi Lincoln went to the hospital, she went to visit a chiropractor a couple days later after she was referred to one by the hospital. You can see right here on the screen, the report says, Cindi Lincoln presents today as a new patient. She has chief complaint of bilateral lower neck pain and mid-back rib cage pain. These complaints are both anterior and posterior. She appears to be somewhat embarrassed to relate that this past Monday she was the victim of a domestic violence situation/attack. She reports that she was grabbed, elevated, and thrown to her back. She struck the back of her head in between her shoulder blades and her lumbar spine. She describes the pain as dull to sharp on and off. She did receive emergency allopathic examination at the Monroe County Hospital in Monroeville, Alabama. And then it goes on to describe her pain and all the injuries that she had at the time of this doctor examining her. And here towards the bottom, circled in black ink, the doctor wrote, "Today's findings appeared to be consistent with the biomechanics behind the traumatic incident as described." In other words, according to the doctor, the chiropractor who examined Cindi Lincoln after she went to the hospital, the injuries that Cindi Lincoln had on her back spine area were consistent with the kind of injuries you would suffer if you were body slammed to the ground in the exact way that Cindi Lincoln says that she was by Kent Hovind. In other words, not only did Kent Hovind lie when he claimed that he did not body slam Cindi Lincoln to the ground, but he also lied when he claimed that she did not go to the hospital after the fact to treat herself after she had been body slammed to the ground.
I think probably any other man in the world would have body slammed her.
Yeah.
But I did not.
Hello there, everyone, and welcome to a very special episode of the TTOR Show, the third episode of Season 3, in fact. And as you could probably tell from that 5-minute montage I showed in the beginning and from the title of the actual show, we're going to be exposing some more Kent Hovind lies. And in particular, we'll be exposing the lies that Kent Hovind and Johanna said about Cindi Lincoln and Mark Stoney in a live stream that they did on January 1st on Brett Keen's channel. And I will say right off the top of the show that Brett Keen since then has changed the way he feels about Kent Hovind and Matt Powell. So a lot of the stuff you'll hear him say in the live stream that we'll be responding to really should be taken with a grain of salt and probably just ignored, because the main focus of today is exposing the lies and the defamation and the gaslighting done by Kent Hovind, Sandra, and Johanna. So with that being said, let's give the brief introduction. You know who I am, Justin Derby, founder of TTOR. We got Sal up there in the upper right-hand corner.
Hi,
Say hello, Sal.
Hi, I'm Sal.
And
I'm a. Did you want me to introduce myself, or?
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm a creationist researcher. Most people in the Discovery Institute, the Institute of Creation Research, a lot of people in the creationist community know who I am. Kent's minions have been attacking me when I stood up in defense of children, and that's how I got involved in this. And I've seen clergy abuse. I'm involved in that issue as well. And so I just, I'm interested in calling out what I consider bad behavior and also bad creationism. It makes Christians look bad. It makes creationists look bad. I don't have a lot of specific things to comment on for today's show, but I'm here just to support Cindi, and I'm pleasantly surprised to see Mark here too. I'm here to support you too, and really just support the truth. I try not to take too many sides publicly. I mean, I obviously have my biases, but I'm out to just get the truth out and call out people who aren't telling the truth. So thank you for doing this, Justin.
You're welcome. And in the middle on the side there, we have one of the two people that's being heavily gaslit and defamed in today's live stream response, Mark Stoney. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Mark.
Hey, well, yeah, I'm Mark Stoney. I used to work for Kent Hovind, spent about 2 years down there in Lenox, Alabama at Dinosaur Adventureland. Gained a lot of trust with Kent, and I genuinely wanted to help out and genuinely believed it was a legitimate ministry that was actually doing good things for Christ. So much so that I become a trustee on his CSE, his original CSE trust that was set up for the Pensacola Dinosaur Adventureland and all that. Ultimately with the goal to sue the government for $500 million, which did not come to fruition and will not come to fruition. But yeah, I was pretty deeply involved with the Dinosaur Adventureland cult, the whole Kent Hovind thing. I would have called myself a Hovindite back in the day. I've since come to see the light. I've actually brought out a lot of this that has instigated some of these slanderous attacks that Kent Hovind is throwing against myself and Cindi, especially with bringing to light the incident with Chris Jones and the boy that he brought with him and was found in bed with. So that's a little bit about where I'm coming from, how I'm involved. And I do have my own YouTube channel, Mark Stoney Official. You can check that out if you want to, where I have exposed a lot of the things that Kent Hovind has been up to. So yeah, that's about enough about me.
All right. And then the person on the bottom right-hand side, of course, is someone who's going to have a lot to say today, and this is Cindi Lincoln. Now, I know you're going to have a lot to say later on in this stream, Cindi, so can you give us a brief summary of who you are?
Well, I'm the next door neighbor to Mark Stoney in the psych ward. Hey, bro. Have you had your meds today?
Well, I did have a beautiful hug from my daughter, so that's all the medication I need.
The power of love.
Yeah. I'm just joking. It's just that we are both being called crazy.
Yeah.
And
I told TTOR in the pre-show I'm used to it by now, so that still doesn't justify it or make it right. But yeah, it's been going on for a little bit now. It's about time we say something.
So, in all seriousness, though, Cindi, can you briefly tell the audience who may not know who you are at this point, who you are?
Sorry. Yeah, I spent 5 years at Dinosaur Adventureland. The first 2, I was just a volunteer, exactly like what Mark said. I really thought it was a legitimate ministry, sharing the Word of God and building a museum to help children understand where dinosaurs fit into the Bible, and trying to landscape it so it looks like the Garden of Eden. And then after 2 years, I married Kent Hovind, and the first couple of months were paradise, and then the drug bust happened in March of 2020. And when me and my 7 witnesses wouldn't back down, we were all basically threatened that we could either shut up or leave. And that's when the bipolar lie began, and the attempt to discredit the witness and shut her up and shut us up, not just me.
Right. So, now that you all know who the players are on the screen, let's get into the actual live stream we'll be responding to, which means that using the power of screen sharing, I will put it up on the screen.
Hey, I want to say one more thing, TTOR. When you just showed the beginning clips where you showed Kent lying about who owned the property, lying about the hospital, that's 2 of 10,000, but it represents motive. Showing the parts about Zaire represents motive. This is why he's lying. He has a lot to hide.
Yep. That was kind of why I put together that montage.
Yeah.
Besides the fact that the lies were demonstrably false, it was to show motive. Especially the clip I added there at the end where he insinuated that you deserve to be body slammed because any other man would have done it, but I didn't.
Yeah, the constant bragging. Yeah.
So can we all see the video on screen? That's the live stream?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, good. So the live stream in particular is called Brett Keane Exposing Cindi Lincoln Live with Kent Hovind, Sandra Hovind. Now, I will give Brett credit for not taking this live stream down after he started singing a different tune regarding Kent and Matt Powell and giving us the opportunity to respond to it live. So I like to thank Brett for that. And we're going to skip the first 16 minutes and 51 seconds because that's basically just Johanna talking about stuff that's irrelevant to what we're going to be responding to. And then Kent Hovind finally joins the stream because he came late to the party. So it is from the 16-minute and 51-second mark of the video through the 18-minute and 8-second mark of the video that we see Kent Hovind say the following.
TT, can you make it large screen so that there's not that big block of white?
Missing the audio there.
Oh, did I not do that?
Right.
Okay. Here, let me try doing theater mode. Is that
we're,
better?
We're all about some constructive criticism here.
I forgot to hit share audio, apparently. All right, let me try this again. Let's do entire screen. Click share audio. Select that. And we'll just go ahead and do this. And we'll start again at the 16. Hold on. We'll start at 1649. It's basically the same thing. Let me know if you can hear this.
4 miles apart. There you go. Okay.
Can we hear that?
Sounds good.
Okay, good.
Cindi did great work giving tours of DAL. She's great at teaching creation, but she's basically destroyed her ministry opportunities, at least for the time being. No one listens to her. She'll do a show and have, 95 views, 119 views. She does great stuff on birds, teach us life lessons. Great. But nobody's listening. When she puts my name in there, she gets 1,000 views and 4,000 views and 2,800 views. This is what they call in Australia the tall poppy syndrome. It describes a social phenomena which people of genuine merit are resented, attacked, cut down, or criticized because their talents or achievements elevate them above or distinguish them from their peers. Let's cut this one down so we don't look so short. The tall poppy syndrome. And that's exactly what's going on here. Her and Mark Stoney both. Nobody listens to Mark Stoney's channel until he mentions my name. When he blasts Kent Hovind, you're not on screen there. Okay. When he blasts me, he gets all kinds of views. Let's see. You shall see the Son of Man, 40 views. Okay, 23 views. The hour is coming. He mentions my name. He gets 690 views. Wow, he's riding on my coattails.
So, in that clip that you guys just saw on screen, we see Kent Hovind claim that Cindi and Mark have destroyed their own ministries and that nobody listens to or watches them. And then Kent justifies claiming that by pointing out that when Cindi and Mark make videos about anything other than Kent Hovind, they generally don't get a lot of views. He also points out that when they make videos about him, they generally get hundreds or even a couple thousand views on those videos. Then Kent Hovind appeals to the poppy syndrome to claim that Mark and Cindi are riding his coattails to get views. Now, before I get into the whole YouTube metrics problem that Kent Hovind just set himself up with, and before I show another spiritual narcissist who literally argued the same way Kent Hovind does in another video, I want to give Mark Stoney and Cindi the opportunity to give their raw reaction to that claim. So, Cindi, you can go first. This whole no one watches you thing because you don't get as many views on videos that aren't about Kent Hovind. What do you have to say in response to that?
First of all, the bragging makes you want to barf. I didn't ask for a YouTube ministry, and neither did Mark. We both came to serve Kent Hovind's ministry. And we are not in this for fame or money like Kent is. We are in this because we are alarmed knowing that other brothers and sisters like ourselves are walking straight into his trap and are continuing to send him money. Period.
What say you, Mark Stoney? What's your initial raw reaction to this claim by Kent Hovind?
Well, it's kind of funny because one of his biggest things when somebody comes out and speaks against him is, if you don't like it, go build something on your own. So, I half-heartedly took his advice and started a YouTube channel. And you know what? People wanted to know my experience at Dinosaur Adventureland. And I think I'm close to 400 subscribers now. But who cares? That's not what it's about. And even when I do, like you see the graphic he put up there of a thumbnail of one of my videos. If you go watch that video, it is scripture, just wall-to-wall scripture. That's all it is. It's just the words of Christ. I didn't put any commentary to it. I think at the very end of the video, I put my 2 cents in on like one slide. So he's going to criticize my YouTube videos that I make that don't have anything to do with him, even though that's what he told me to do. But yet it's obvious he didn't watch any of the videos that I have made, because if he had, he would know that it's literally wall to wall, end beginning to end, just the words of Christ. That's all that video is. So it's ultimately very ironic that he has these things to say. So it's like, what's he talking about? But people just tuning into Kent, they're going to look at that and be like, yeah, this guy's nuts. Don't look at him. Don't listen to him.
That's a good point, Mark. If he were a pastor, which he's not, Jeremiah 24, he would be saying, wow, Mark, encouraging you to reach out to the world with the words of Christ.
Mm-hmm.
He wouldn't be slamming you and belittling you. He's not
Right.
a pastor.
Nope. So anyway, now that Mark and Cindi have had their 2 cents on the topic, it's time for my 10 cents on the topic, because I'm actually very well versed in this kind of argumentation that Kent Hovind makes. The first point I'd like to bring up is that Kent Hovind obviously doesn't understand how YouTube metrics work. And as we're going to see here in a little bit, Kent Hovind's own channel gets almost no views relative to his subscriber count. So if no one's interested in watching Mark Stoney and Cindi Lincoln's videos that aren't about Kent, then just about nobody that subscribed to Kent is interested in anything he puts out. But let's understand first how YouTube metrics work. It's generally understood by YouTubers in the YouTube content creator community that if the view count of your video is about 20-25% of your overall subscriber count, that's considered a good video as far as views go. But if your video, say, gets like, well, let's say your sub has your channel has 100 subs and you get 20-25 views on a video, that's considered normal and good. If you get 0 to 10 views on your video, that's considered bad. If you get, 30 to 70, 90 views on your video, that's considered really good for a 100 sub channel. Or if you're getting more video views than you have total subs, that's really good. And of course, if you go viral, well, you'll see yourself blow up. And so when we actually go to Kent Hovind's channel, we can see that even though he's chastising Mark and Cindi for having low view counts on their non-Kent Hovind videos, he has absurdly low view counts considering how many subs his channel actually has. All right, we click share audio, go to there. So here we see Kent Hovind's channel where he has 219,000 subscribers. And you can see if you go through here in his video library that with the exception of his most recent upload 13 days ago, you have to go back almost a year or more in order to find a video of his that has 10,000 or more views. You see here he's got a couple thousand views on a lot of these videos. He's got 900 views on this debate he did. He's got 500 on this debate he did. He even has this debate he did on Standing for Truth's channel that he mirrored over to his. Only 181 views after 3 weeks, which if he had, 219,000 subs, most of which were active consumers of his content, you would think that all of his videos would at least have 150, 200,000 views, or, maybe 100,000 views if we're being generous. But he's struggling to even get a couple hundred views on some of his videos. And for a channel with over 219,000 subscribers, well, we're just going to have to conclude that most of his 219,000 subscribers are just not interested in just about any of the videos he puts out. So by claiming that low view counts on some of Cindi and Mark's videos prove that no one cares about them when they aren't talking about Kent Hovind, that same argument applies to him, and we have to conclude based on his video view counts that just about nobody who's subscribed to Kent's channel actually cares about him. I mean, if you actually go look at his most popular videos that have 1 million views or hundreds of thousands of views, they're all videos from like 7 to 10, 9 years ago that were like his old creation seminar series or like other series of his that he did. Go look at anything he's recently uploaded in the last several years. It's hard for him to get many views. So yeah, nice job, Kent, shooting yourself in the foot with this low view count argument you made, because apparently most of your subs don't care about you either. But if we go,
100%.
Yes.
Cindi and I were on a debate stage October 5th, 60,000 views. And probably the draw was Aaron Ra, who's a secular Satanist. So is the measure of view counts the measure of truth or how well you serve God? If that's the case, then, Aaron Ra is just burying you, Kent. That's a lousy argument. And besides, I'm just glad to see Cindi got 60,000 views. When was the last time you did that?
It's been a while. But if you go to Mark Stoney's channel, for example, sure, some of his view counts on his videos are far less than his 391 subs. But you can also see he's got several videos with a couple hundred, several hundred views. In fact, he's got video view counts that are way higher than his sub count. So technically speaking, if you want to compare video view counts in relation to your overall subscriber count, I'd say Mark Stoney's got a lot more active of a channel going on than Kent does. A lot more people who are actually interested in what Mark Stoney has to say, not just among his subscribers, but also among people who aren't even subscribed to him yet. And it's the same thing if you go to Cindi Lincoln's channel, which I just need to pull up right here. Cindi Lincoln, if you go to her channel, sure, some of her video view counts are a lot lower than her 868 subs. But you start scrolling down and you see she's got videos of a couple hundred, several hundred views. And if you go to her most popular tab, you'll see that she's got videos with several thousand views, just like Kent pointed out. And just about all of them are involved with Kent Hovind in some way. But the fact of the matter is that she's pulling down some really good view counts on her videos relative to her subscriber count. So sure, Cindi Lincoln and Kent Hovind have far less subs. Well, Cindi and Mark have far less subs than Kent, I should say. And their view counts are not as high as Kent's, even though his are absurdly low relative to his sub count. But if you want to look at view counts relative to your channel's subscriber count, Cindi and Mark are doing fantastic for their channel size. And for Kent's channel size, he is sucking, to say the least. I mean, even when Brett Keane does a video with him and he mirrors it to his channel, it gets some more views than his videos usually do, but it doesn't get that many views, even with someone like Brett Keane boosting him. So Kent is not as popular as he thinks that he is. But aside from Kent's lack of popularity, we're going to be looking at a video clip from one of my older BitChute videos where Mario the Vigilant Christian made the exact same argument against Christian YouTuber Gary828 that Kent made against Mark and Cindi. Back in 2020, when I put out this video, Gary was in the middle of exposing Mario for being a spiritual narcissist who spent over $500,000 in ministry donations on drugs, alcohol, and escorts, and for engaging in sexting affairs with women on the internet. But when we go to my video, which you guys can see on screen, right? Right?
Yes.
Okay,
I can
good.
see it now. Yeah.
All right. So in this video I did in 2020 titled Vigilant Mario Responds to Gary828 with Lies, Hypocrisy, and Double Standards, it is at the 11-minute and 17-second mark of this video where we hear me and Mario. Well, you'll see what you see. Now we're going to continue watching the video from here, and you're going to see Mario display some utter hypocrisy.
And here's the proof. Okay, so check that video out. 1 week ago, 1,400 views in just 1 week.
But now you're sharing your
video
on screen.
Even 300 views.
There you go.
Oh, talks about me. Another average of 2,000 views. Oh, boyfriend Rex relationship beyond repair. Can't get 200 views. Legit reasons for split up. My advice. Not even 125 views. And it goes on. And this is the pattern. I mean, 90 Day Fiancé is the most viewed TLC and I think TV show out there right now, and he can only get 250 views. And Dr. Katz, I mean, look, this is what the guy wants to create. This is the content that I believe that Gary wants to create. Stuff about Dr. Katz not even getting 100 views, and rides and slides and roller coasters. I mean, come on. He puts in Johnny Depp's name and can't even get 150 views. So why am I saying this? It's because clearly, Gary, what you have created is a Mario hate cult. Your own subscriber base does not have any interest in what you produce as content unless you create it about me.
That's right, guys. You heard that correctly at the end of that clip. Mario claims that most of Gary's subs have no interest in Gary's videos. And what's his evidence of this? Well, Gary, when he puts out videos about Mario, he'll get a couple thousand views on average. But when he makes videos about just about anything else, he gets less than 200 views or less than a couple hundred views. Now, I find this to be very interesting because Mario's main channel, The Vigilant Christian, had the exact same problem before he got rid of it back in 2018. I remember back in, I think it was like either late 2017 or early 2018, I remembered that I was going through popular Christian YouTube channels and I was seeing what their view counts for their videos were relative to their subscriber count, because I noticed a pattern where the view counts of videos on Christian channels were like only 10% or less of the number of subscribers that the channel had. And I thought, how could it be that 90 to 95% of all these popular Christian channels, how is it that 90 to 95% of their subs have no interest in watching any of their videos? And that's when I figured out that YouTube censorship was going on. And Mario himself talked about this very thing. Mario himself talked about how, oh yeah, I have 500, 600,000 subscribers on my channel, and yet I can't get more than 10,000 views on any of my videos. And his reasoning for why this was so was because YouTube was censoring him. Mario was so adamant about being censored by YouTube that he was actually interviewed on Press for Truth back in September of 2018 in the video titled, "First It Was the Conservatives, Now They're Coming for the Christians, Google Censorship Exposed." And in this 19-minute video, Dan Dix of Press for Truth interviewed Mario, and they talked about how Mario was being censored by YouTube and how Christians and conservatives in general were being censored by YouTube and Google. Mario cried social media censorship when his videos got almost no views relative to his subscriber count. And yet, when Gary is experiencing the same problem, Mario says, it's because your subscribers don't care about your content. Just think about the hypocrisy and double standard being practiced by Mario here. Both him and Gary828 are Christian content creators. Both are being algorithmically censored, most likely, by YouTube. And so most of their videos are only getting a handful of views relative to their subscriber counts, which gives the impression that 90 to 95% of their subscribers are not interested in their videos. When it happens to Mario, Mario claims that he's the victim of YouTube censorship, and that's why his videos get hardly any views relative to his subscriber count. But when the vast majority of Gary's videos get hardly any views relative to his subscriber count, Mario says, it's because most of your subs are interested in your content. Completely hypocritical double standard being employed by Mario. And the reason why Mario is employing this double standard is because he can't actually refute anything that Gary828 has said about him in his videos about Mario. And so he has to resort to hypocritical double standards like this to attack Gary828. So I know this was a completely different issue than Kent Hovind, but I hope you guys could see the similarities in argumentation between how Mario tried to gaslight Gary828 and how Kent Hovind is currently trying to gaslight Cindi and Mark. What do you guys think of the similarity between the two?
I
can
nailed
see
it
some.
at the very last sentence you said. Sorry, Mark, because they can't address the substance of the issue, or they want to be sure that other people don't go to your channel so that they can see the evidence.
And would you guys like to know how that turned out for Mario?
Probably not too good.
Mario ended up leaving the internet in early 2021, right before Gary dropped a brand new expose on him, where Mario was exposed for cheating the drug rehab program that he allegedly attended. And he was practicing all the stuff he said he was getting rehabbed for. And he was cheating the drug screenings. He had a sexting affair with a girl, and he was engaging in all the behaviors he claimed to be against. And so because Gary just kept hammering away at him without any mercy until he left the internet, Mario left the internet. So my encouragement to you, Cindi, is in regards to Kent, don't stop exposing him until he's gone. Because that's the only way. That's the only way you're going to ever make it a difference with a guy like that, is you cannot let up on him, especially when he's trying to get you censored off the internet like he did on Brett's channel last year. So
and it's obvious that he wants us to go away and shut up. It's obvious that we're getting to him. Otherwise, he wouldn't be putting out slanderous and awful things about myself and Cindi. He's going down the tank, and he knows it, and these are his death throes. He's just trying to bring everybody he can down with him.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, let me screen share because we have another clip to go through. Okay, entire screen share. Got it. All right, so now we are starting where we left off on the live stream, and we'll go to the 19-minute, 24-second mark of the video, and then we'll respond.
Which is sad. He's even reposting. Did you know that, Randall? He's reposting our videos on his channel. Huh? It's advertising for us. Does he get money for that if he gets views?
Yeah.
Oh, he's still riding on our coattails. You coward. Man. Riding on the coattails. Let's see. That's what they call it, okay? He very gleefully joins up with God haters and Hovind haters. The Bible's real clear about that. Don't be unequally yoked together with unbelievers. He doesn't seem to care about that, okay? Come out from among them, be ye separate, saith the Lord. I just do a couple verses together real quick. Don't be partaker of his evil deeds. So it's sad to see both Cindi and Mark went straight to the atheist channels. And the atheists love anything to bash Hovind because they don't want to talk about creation or evolution. They don't have any answers. I keep asking them, like in my Making Babies series, how did this evolve, guys? They don't answer any of them. There is no answer. It didn't evolve. It was created. Duh. So it's sad to see both Cindi and Mark, I think, have destroyed their testimony and destroyed their ministry opportunity. Nobody's watching them.
So, as we could see in that particular clip, Kent Hovind condemns Mark and Cindi for committing the thought crime of going onto atheist channels to expose him and his evil deeds, and he claims that their testimony has been destroyed because of this. Now, before Mark and Cindi offer their response to that, I would just like to point out the major problem with this argument. Cindi and Mark have also gone onto Christian channels as well to do the very same thing. Cindi has been on Brett Keen's channel. She's been on Inspiring Philosophy's channel. She's been on Paleo Logos. She's been on Preacher Boys. And of course, she's on my channel. So she's been on a lot of Christian channels as well as atheists. So it's not like she just ran to the atheists and didn't even try to go on Christian channels. And Mark Stoney, to a lesser extent, has done the same thing. He's been on Brett Keen's channel and he's on mine. He's been on mine before and he's on mine here today. So to me, this argument is complete nonsense because you guys have been on any channel that will take you and let you give your side of the story. Doesn't matter if it's atheists, doesn't matter if it's Christians like me or Brett or Inspiring Philosophy or Paleo Logos or everyone else I named off. It doesn't matter who gives you the opportunity, you took it, right?
Right. And I do have my own channel too, and I have my own shows. So I have a Christian channel, so I go on the Christian channel there. But, you know, Kent mentioned something about me re-uploading 20 of his debates to get views. I never did that. In fact, it was him that re-uploaded 20 of his old debates on his channel in an effort to get more views. And it's just a total projection because that was what he actually did, and he's trying to blame it on me. And I don't even understand how that makes me look guilty. It was just really weird that he brings that up. But and yes, we did go to Atheist Junior's channel in the very beginning because guess who was covering Kent Hovind? It was atheists. They were the ones that were talking about the things that Kent Hovind was saying. And you might ask yourself, why is that? Well, maybe because no Christians in the community have enough respect for Kent Hovind to even acknowledge that he has a ministry. You know, maybe that has something to do with it.
What say you, Cindi? You're muted, Cindi.
I want to point out the scriptural thing that Kent just twisted. He's saying, come out from among them and be ye separate. Well, why is he hanging out with pedophiles and drug addicts, slanderers, and thieves?
Thank you.
Hello? The Bible says that if someone calls themselves a Christian yet engages in those kinds of behaviors, we are not to associate with them, but that we are not to stop associating with atheists or people that don't claim that they're a Christian. We're supposed to reach out and be the hands and feet of Christ to those kinds of people. Not kinds of people, anyway, you know what I mean.
And look at it this way. Who did Jesus hang out with? Who did Jesus spend time with? The sinners, the prostitutes, the tax collectors, the lessers of society. He wasn't hanging out with the popular people. You know, he only had 12 friends, which that in and of itself was miraculous. A 30-year-old with 12 friends. My goodness. But, you know, it's a ridiculous attack on Kent's part. It has no merit whatsoever.
The other thing Mark pointed out, that either Christians don't have enough respect for Kent to even acknowledge that he's got a ministry. The thing that I ran into, I went to numerous Christian outlets. I tried to go to Christianity Today. I tried to go to Julie Royce. I tried to go to the Baptist Association that would perhaps be over Kent, although he's an independent Baptist. I tried, and guess what? They are Hovindites. Either that, or either they're not interested, like Mark said, or they want to defend Kent. When I reached out to people that were in my phone, pastors where we had gone to preach, they all shamed me for saying evil about the Lord's anointed. And AJ points out the fact that I didn't go to him. I didn't even know he existed. He came to me. So, yeah.
All right. With that being said, excellent responses, by the way. We're going to go ahead and transition to another clip. Let me check my time markers on this one. Okay, 2052 is when it ends. So we're going to have another fun little argument, but Sandra Hovind is going to join the fray at this point in the live stream we're responding to. All right, and then we go back here, and let's let her rip, Tater Chip.
Oh, until they mention
Why do you
me.
think it is that they would do that, knowing full well, Cindi knows full well as Mr. Stoney, that going to atheist channels, a lot of atheists have a lot of anger and animosity towards God and Christianity. Don't they realize that they're not just trying to damage you, but they're damaging themselves and the representation of the body of Christ by doing this?
I personally think it's narcissism, that type of behavior. I've written a list of narcissistic traits, and I'm not going to speak for Mark, but I know Cindi seems to have a lot of those traits, and some of them are the flying monkeys. So I know it sounds silly, but a narcissist needs people to attack who they want to have attacked. And Cindi went immediately right to the atheist, knowing thousands of people would go attack him. And that's exactly what she wanted. I'm not going to speak for Mark. I don't know if he's a narcissist, but a list of things that make you qualified for being a narcissist, I feel like Cindi has the majority of them. And you asked why, and I believe with Cindy's case, it's because of the narcissistic behavior.
So, as we could see there in that particular clip, Sandra claims that Cindi is a narcissist, and the alleged proof of this is that Cindi went onto atheist channels to attack Kent, which somehow fulfilled her narcissism and sent her flying monkeys after them. Before you guys chime in on this, I would just like to point out two simple things. One, Kent has already claimed that nobody watches Cindi or cares about her, so how can she possibly have an army of flying monkeys to go send after Kent on the internet? And two, atheists on the internet don't need an excuse to go after Kent Hovind or any Christians on the internet, including myself. So Cindi going onto their channels to expose Kent's criminal and scumbag behavior isn't going to affect that one way or the other. That's my 10 cents on that argument. What say you guys?
Well, it's kind of funny because the exact same evidence that Sandra is giving for Cindy's alleged narcissism is the exact same evidence that Kent laid out against me, that I went to an atheist channel and I'm gathering all these flying monkeys. So why is it that Cindi and Sandra's diagnosis is the narcissist, but she's not willing to speak for me when the evidence is exactly the same?
Very true indeed. What say you, Cindi? I know it's
founded.
Yeah, I don't blame you for having that reaction.
Cindi and I started laughing at the same time. I don't know if you were laughing for the same reason I was, because Sandra is supposed to be an expert on narcissism. And I'm just like, well, I don't think it's Cindi that has the problem. But one thing I wanted to add, why did we go on, some of us go on atheist channels? For one, I think Kent Hovind is destroying the Christian witness before atheists.
Amen. That's what I wanted to
like,
point out too.
I disavow that this is Christ-like behavior. I mean, you're supposed to love your wife, be willing to die for her. The way that he treated his wives, I'm just like, I have issues with that. And also, his creationism does not represent creationism. I get upset at that people will associate me with Kent Hovind's bad science. I mean, there are those of us who actually have real degrees in science who publish in the secular world and fight real hard, and our work is disparaged because of people like Kent. And so our witness is being compromised, and we have a chance to set it straight and disavow it. And it's also really, really sad that Christians were not the first to come in defense of the truth. And I got really upset. I said, do you not care about the children? Do you not care about the children that might be going to Dinosaur Adventureland? And, now it's now come out by Kent Hovind's own mouth, as we saw at the beginning here, that he helped a registered sex offender come to Dinosaur Adventureland. It's known that there are ex-cons and drug addicts there. Is the creationist community going to be silent? And maybe about the only thing we could do is we're going to talk to everyone that we can possibly get a hold of. This has got to stop. I got interested in this because on my puny little tiny channel, people were saying, and people that I know said, I want to go, Kent Hovind's Dinosaur Adventureland. I was thinking, please don't bring your kids there. Don't bring your kids there. I got to say something. I said, I'm not going to sleep at night unless I stand up. And finally, about this whole thing about view counts, the Nerf wars, those little Nerf balls and those guns, those get 20 million views. Okay, that's not a measure of truth or how well you're serving the Lord. Come on.
Thank you, Sal. Hey, I have to say something else. Sal, his channel, Evidence and Reasons, I've been on that Christian channel too. So that's 6 Christian channels. I think that's more than the number.
I think that's actually 7 if I'm counting right, but 6,
Okay.
7, what's the difference?
The other thing I'd like
You've
to
been on
add
my
is
channel too,
what-
Cindy.
Oh my gosh. So it's way more than the number of atheist
Right.
channels.
It's about equal, but yeah.
I want to bring out something really important that dovetails off of what Sal just said. And that is, I viewed it as an opportunity to enter into the atheist community and share the love of Christ and share what we have in common. Many atheists have in common with us that they have been burned in the church and they have a sour taste in their mouth about the church and about Jesus Christ because of people like Kent. And so hopefully we are demonstrating that not all Christians are like that and that Kent Hovind does not represent Christianity. And so,
And also oh, sorry,
they
go ahead.
Just one other thing. They all allowed me to share the gospel, my testimony of how I came to the Lord and how I believed that he was true. And so that's what we're supposed to be doing in this world, is sharing the light. How dare he shame us for that? And again, TTOR, it's exactly what you said. It's because he can't answer the substance of the matter.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't want people going on our channel and seeing the evidence.
And to tie into that, aren't we supposed to have a good rapport with those that are without? Isn't that kind of the whole point? We're not supposed to be antagonizing and diminishing and degrading people because they don't see things the way that we do. They don't agree with everything that we agree with. We're supposed to be, welcoming them and not only hearing their thoughts and opinions, but giving ours. We're supposed to be always ready to give a reason for the hope that is within us. So
Amen.
that what that looks like is not whack an atheist. What that looks like is not, screaming at atheists and just calling them names.
Morons.
It's
right.
If I've done anything, I've earned respect with the atheist community. And you know what? That's what the Bible tells us to do, to have a good rapport with those that are without. And I challenge you to talk to any of these atheists that I've spoken to or Cindy's spoken to and see if they'll say that if we've ever given 1 inch of ground on our faith. We haven't. We stand firm on our belief in Christ. We stand firm on the truth of the gospel. That's what we're about, and they know that, and we know that, and you guys know that, and we're respected for it. So yeah, that's fine if we have atheist friends, because we're supposed to.
Exactly. So, without any further ado, let's go ahead and skip right into the next part of this live stream that we're responding to. Okay, so 2156 is the end of the next clip. Go ahead and we'll screen share. Okay, got it. Boom. All right, and here we go.
Well,
I think not only that, Kent, Sanda's definitely onto something there, but I think it's also histrionic social disorder and antisocial disorder. Go ahead.
Well, she was constantly accusing me of being a narcissist. I don't believe I've ever been accused of that in my life until she came along, but I'm a strong leader. God called me to lead. Follow me or get out of the way. You know, if you don't like the way I do it, go somewhere else. One guy called me yesterday, said, a man called me and said, can my husband and I come stay at Dinosaur Adventureland? You know, a couple of homosexuals. I said, well, you can come visit. We'll give you the tour, but no, you can't spend the night here. Oh, you don't allow that happen? No, we don't allow alcohol here. We don't allow quite a few sins here. If you want to do that, go start your own camp and bring whoever you want to bring. But this is our camp. You can't stay overnight. Come visit, though. I'll give you a tour. So, yes, God called me to lead. I didn't ask for it. He called me. Okay, I'll lead, God. So,
and we're going to stop right there. As we saw in that particular clip, Kent Hovind denies that he's a narcissist and claims that he was never accused of being one until Cindi Lincoln came along. He also claims that he doesn't allow people to do drugs and stuff on the DAL campus. Now, I would like to point out before I give the floor to Cindi and Mark to respond to this, only a narcissist would tell Cindi that nobody watches her videos or cares about her unless she makes videos about a semi-popular person like Kent Hovind. The other thing I'd like to point out, too, is that not only is this behavior that Kent just displayed and what he displayed earlier in the stream, that's not only the behavior of a spiritual narcissist, but it's actually the behavior of a psychopath as well. And I don't make that claim blowing smoke. I'm about to show you the proof of this. I just need to re-enter the screen share once again using the magic power of technology. And it is at the 10-minute and 26-second mark of Brett's recent video, Does Atheism Create Psychopaths?, that we see an interesting trait that psychopaths have.
Number 7. They bully and abuse even those they're close to. Bullying and abuse, especially gaslighting, is extremely common in psychopaths. Gaslighting is a lot like brainwashing, where they use lies, manipulations, and devaluing insults to make the victim feel as if they're going insane, that they don't know themselves, and that they're reliant on their abusers to survive because of their self-worth plummeting.
Now, look at that clip and try to convince me that that's not Kent Hovind in regards to his attacks on Cindi.
I mean, the guy might as well go apply for the movie theater because he's the biggest projector there is out there.
Exactly.
He definitely bullies, insults, belittles, gaslights. The other thing I want to point out is I am not the first one to call him a narcissist.
Right.
There are 2 members of his family of origin that claimed that his counseling with his family of origin considered him a narcissist. Mary considers him a narcissist. Many former volunteers consider him a narcissist or a psychopath. And again, we are not certified to diagnose, but he shows the signs of no empathy, enjoys hurting people. Anyway.
And there's other signs in this video of Brett's that he also fits, but I'm going to cover those in a separate video, not in this live stream. But as far as his claim that, we don't allow drugs and alcohol and people to have them on the campus, that's not exactly true either. Julie Shunk, his former secretary, exposed his negligence towards those crimes occurring on the DAL campus And I got part of her testimony in my recent video. Julie Shunk testimony exposes crimes at DAL, Kent Hovind's negligence towards those crimes. And I know, Cindi, you have a 2-hour version of this on your channel, and I think she might be on other channels as well talking about the same thing. So obviously in that regard as well, Kent's lying.
You're not allowed to do drugs if you're someone he wants to get rid of. If you still have money to give, or if you're Steve Lynn, then you're allowed to do them.
And something about that, Matt Powell and Kent Hovind did their little breakup video earlier today, and Matt claims that there was never any conflict, but yet it was reported that Matt and Steve Lynn almost got into a fight over Steve Lynn's drug use and alcohol use at camp. So
Really?
yeah. Being totally that's what Chuck Wiley told me, that when he was there, Matt and Steve almost got into a fist fight.
He witnessed it?
That's what he said.
Wow, that needs to be on air. Why is that not on air?
I'm pretty sure it is. It's probably on one of my live streams.
All right. So
yeah.
Sorry to overtalk you, Mark. I didn't mean to. I just
your show, bud.
Yeah, I just want to transition into our next point of interest. We'll pick up in the live stream. Just using the magical power of love and screen sharing. Okay, let's do that. Thank you. We all see the stream. And we have another clip. Oh, I actually gotta recheck my notes. I think I may have skipped a bullet point. Oh yeah, that's okay. So that's the one. All right, now I gotta screen share again. Just give me a second. I figured out where we're going. I figured out where this ship is sailing.
Sorry.
All right, here we go. Now I know where we're going to.
He's the narcissist.
Right. That was another point. A narcissist will call someone a narcissist. She called him a narcissist. If you go back to all the tapes, she was the first one to call him a narcissist. His family doesn't. I definitely don't. The ministry doesn't. His best friends do not. But yet Johanna's here, and Johanna can tell you that Cindi does portray some of the narcissistic traits on even something as evil as trying to separate you from your own family. Cindi has done that to me, and I know Johanna can tell you that's what she did with her.
Well, Cindi was calling
let me ask you something, Kent and Sandra, if you don't mind. Now, not only have you been out on the road preaching God and you've done countless debates, but you've also got a place in which you construct homes and places for people to live. A narcissistic person doesn't put forth the effort to help others in any kind of way whatsoever. Now, if we look in contrast to Cindi and Mark, have they ever put together a home or a place for anybody to live or stay or anything? Oh, wait. I think I heard that she actually kicked somebody out of a house and put them out basically to nowhere, and you actually had to come through for them. So where's the narcissism actually at, if we want to point the finger?
Well, both of them want to take over this place. Both of them saw this, said, wow, this is amazing. I'll take it. No, go build your own. Okay, property across the street. Go buy across the street. Build your own dinosaur adventure land. We've put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into this place. A lot of people have. And God's blessed. So, but see, I have for 50 some years now been trying to serve the Lord. I have filled my head and my heart and read God's word, and I really study hard. I want to know and speak the truth. And people want what's in my head. I make a videotape. They say, wow, that's good information. I'll buy it. Nobody wants what's in their head.
So, as we saw in that particular clip, we saw Sandra claim that Cindi is a narcissist because she kicked someone out of one of the houses she owns. And Kent claims that Mark and Cindi want to take his ministry from him, and also that Mark and Cindi both want what is in Kent Hovind's head because nobody is interested in what is in their heads. Now, before you guys start laughing and responding, I just want to throw my 10 cents in. One, nobody in this live stream that's going on right now that you all are watching, nobody is even the least bit interested in taking over DAL. Also, the more important point that I want to make, because I've actually looked into the things Kent teaches in his presentations, Nobody is interested in the knowledge that is in Kent Hovind's head, because the vast majority of knowledge that Kent has shared in his videos and presentations is not his own. He gets most of his information from other people, other creationists, other Christians, etc. All Kent does is add his own charisma to the mix when presenting that information. But just about everything he teaches is not his own knowledge. He got it from someone else. So he wants to portray himself to you as like some kind of Bible answer man who's got this unique insight into all these creation apologetics topics. But the truth is, he gets most of his arguments and information from other people that already put this info out there before he did. You guys,
9 times out of 10, it's false. He uses bad arguments. Even the other creation ministries, the renowned ones like ICR, have put out lists of arguments not to use that Kent Hovind uses, because it's just not good information. It's outdated. It's been, disproven or declared to be a bad argument, and he still goes on with it, just bearing through it.
If I could weigh in just a little bit here, it's really insulting when he measures your accomplishments by, how many souls are saved or whatever. It's like, what about the Bible translators? What about the creation scientists that actually do the research that other people use? Does he not give credit to them? It's like he's denigrating people that, don't have as many views or big an audience. That's not the measure of your service to God's kingdom. And it specifically says that we're all members of Christ's body. We all have our roles. And, I just don't like this whole thing. Someone's Christianity in the hierarchy of God is measured by how many people you've preached to or how many tracts you've handed out. God measures the hearts and minds. That's what counts.
Not to mention,
it's a little bit denigrating, honestly, because I know some of the best creationists, you would not know their names. I had the privilege of working for John Sanford. Billions of starving people, billions, have been fed because of his invention in crop improvement. He has written some of the best genetic arguments in favor of creationism. He used to be an atheist, became a Christian. You hardly know him. He got 30 views on one video when he granted an interview. And part of that was because I had to lobby. That's not the measure in God's eyes of how, your quality of Christianity. Dr. Sanford is a good man, and it's just insulting to hear this. It's like, how many of this have you done? How many of this have you done? Go build your own ministry. One reason that we're trying to call this out is to save the kids. So when Kent Hovind was saying, no, we don't allow those 2 homosexuals there, what about a registered sex offender bringing little boy to Dinosaur Adventureland? How about that?
Thank you.
That he did allow.
Right.
How about Steve Lynn to go around with a gun in his pocket? How about Steve Lynn to go around giving marijuana and other unknown controlled substances to the new converts who came to Dinosaur Adventureland to be clean, to get away from that lifestyle? Number one. And number two, if you're going to count converts, how many of Kent's converts are people like Steve? False converts.
And not just that, but if you have to brag about how many people you've led to Christ or how much you've built physically for your dinosaur adventure, if you have to brag about that to convince people that you've actually done anything, then you're not doing it for God. You're doing it for yourself. You're doing it for Kent Hovind.
Constant bragging.
Have we not done this? Have we not done that in your name? No, it's self-aggrandizing, and it's really disgusting.
One thing too I'd like to add, since Sal brought it up, creationists that nobody really knows that have done great work. One of my friends in apologetics anyway is Dr. J.D. Mitchell. He's here in Oregon, runs his own ministry called Creation Engineering Concepts. This guy is one of the best young earth creationist apologists I've ever read. I've got his book, forget what it's called, but basically it's his testimony in apologetics for young earth creationism. One of the best books I've ever read, and the major ministries in the young earth creationism movement would not carry his book because, well, you combined traditional research with personal experience, and therefore we're not going to carry it. It's one of the best books I've ever read on young earth creationism. It's better than just about all the stuff they carry, and no one really knows who he is because of stuff like that. And one thing he did a couple years back that Kent Hovind definitely hasn't done. Dr. J.D. Mitchell, my apologist friend, created a fossil guidebook that's written from the young Earth creationist perspective. At the time, it was the only one of its kind in existence, and it still may be today, because all other fossil guidebooks are written from the evolution, billions of years, Big Bang cosmology perspectives. But JD actually made one from the biblical young Earth creationism perspective, and that is hard to do. That takes a lot of work, and that is something I definitely couldn't pull off. So he actually made something that's going to be useful until the kingdom comes back on Earth, as far as trying to win souls and convert people to Christ legitimately. He made something that'll actually counteract the evolutionary lies related to fossils. Has Kent ever done anything like that? Hell no.
TTOR, is he on YouTube?
No, unfortunately not. I think I have a couple of his presentations on my BitChute channel. I can send some links to you of
Please
his
do.
afterwards. He doesn't have the most engaging speaking style, but he does present really good information. So I always recommend him.
Well, I have a playlist called Testimonies, where if he shares his testimony about how he came to the Lord, I would love to add that.
I'll talk to him about that, actually. It's been a while since I've talked to him, so maybe I can get him on the show one of these days.
Yeah, as well as some of the pictures from his fossil guidebook. Just do a brief, short presentation on YouTube to give people some of that information. Or
I'll have to look on my channel, but I think one of the presentations I have on there is him presenting his guidebook and talking about it. So
wow.
I'll look into it and see if that's one of the ones I have. So all right, so now that we've gone a little bit off the trail, let's get back onto the trail that is Kent Hovind. So I'm going to go ahead and screen share again. Share. Wabooski. All right, so this next clip is going to be a little over 2 minutes long, but we definitely need to watch it. And I'll say right now, Cindi and Mark, you guys are going to definitely have to take the lead on these next few clips, because I don't have much to say in response to them. So here we go.
Well, too, with the kicking out people, like you said, Brett, Kent's ministry here is taking in homeless people, people who are living in tents, people who show up in police cars. I mean, people show up. Kent sometimes will even say, listen, you don't have money to come. I will give you money to come here. That is a selfless person. Johanna, unfortunately, had to leave her home quickly out of fear. That's not being kind and nice. I think that is trying to get away from someone who is being narcissistic. And as you mentioned, Brett, another family who was extremely helpless, had just a couple of days to get out. And Kent's trying to help. Cindi takes all the pictures of vandalism, and Johanna can even vouch for this. Her place is vandalized. I mean, Cindi is destructive, but she likes to blame it on other people.
Well, Johanna, tell the story.
Yeah. Wait. Sandra, you said you had another issue with her, though, and I want to make sure everybody hears this, because this is really important. Sandra, you said that Cindi actually went through your Facebook friend list and family and basically contacted people like a cyber stalker. Can you tell us a little bit about that? And then, Kent, I want to hear what you have to say.
That is a huge narcissistic trait, turning your friends and family against you under the name of trying to help. And that's exactly what Cindi did. She contacted hundreds of friends that weren't even close friends, just anyone that had any contact with me, trying to muddy up the water, trying to make my own children think really bad things of me and my husband. That's not normal. I would have never contacted any person, and I never will contact family members of Cindi or trying to warn them against Cindi. No, she contacted, I could probably say, thousands of my Facebook friends, and my own family started believing some of her own lie. And I know Johanna has the same situation.
So, as we could see in that particular clip, Sandra claims that Cindi vandalizes her own property and possessions so that she can turn around and claim that Kent and his cronies vandalized her property. She also claims that Cindi is a narcissist because Cindi contacted just about all her Facebook friends and family and was successful in getting some of them to shun her and Kent at family gatherings. So I don't really have anything to say, so I'll let Cindi and Mark take the floor on this one.
Well, she started off talking about how people that come to Dinosaur Adventureland are living in tents, they're showing up in police cars, and what that really kind of illustrates is, Kent Hovind being the predator that he is. He's taking advantage. He's taking these opportunities for these people who have nowhere else to go, no shelter, hardly anything to eat, and he's saying, hey, come work here and we'll give you all this. And then he exploits them for their work and anything else he can get out of them, especially if they'll turn on Cindi and lie about Cindi. Then he'll buy their animals and give them $2,000 and then move their RVs for them and do all these things. But it's all, it's only if it is advantageous to Kent. So it's not that people are coming in tents and cop cars because they want to. It's because, they're desperate. They don't have anywhere else to go. And Kent's taking advantage of that.
Good point, Mark. He likes people who are dependent on him for housing. In fact, that's why Freddie is still there, knowing all that he knows, because he doesn't have any place else to go.
Yep.
And those are the kinds Kent likes the best, because if you are dependent on him, then you have to obey. You have to shut up. You have to keep your head down and not say anything about bad things that you see.
And
Shame
that's
on
exactly
him.
what Freddie will tell people. One of the people that's been there the longest, that would know the most about how to stay there the longest, is his advice to every newcomer that comes in there is keep your head down, keep your mouth shut, and you'll be fine.
Disgraceful in a Christian ministry. That is
Mhm.
harming the cause of Christ. Every one of those homeless people who are going in there thinking they're going to into a Christian ministry, and they find that kind of mentality, that kind of intimidation and fear tactic, that's harming the cause of Christ. And that brings out my mama bear. That's why we're doing what we're doing.
I just wanted to.
Shameful. Sorry, Sal.
Oh, I'm sorry. Just briefly, one reason I just shook my head when Sandra was saying he's getting these homeless people right out of the police car. All right, it's an honorable thing to take care of people who are in distress, but this is, if you're running a homeless shelter, fine, but this is not a place. If you're going to run it that way, it's not safe for kids. We know people that are homeless have a high incidence of drug use that got them there, alcohol or whatever. And there's also a high incidence of mental problems.
Well, I don't know if you're aware of this, Sal, but in their most recent tax filings available on the IRS, from the IRS, Dinosaur Adventureland is a homeless shelter.
Oh my goodness. See, this, all right, if you want to run a kid-friendly, safe place, you have to compartmentalize it. It's purely administrative, but this is just even signaling more. Don't bring your kids there, all right? This is not handling it well. You're getting people randomly off there that you haven't vetted that are there and you have to be protecting the kids, all right? Even if your heart, okay, I'm going to give him just slightly the benefit of the doubt here, and maybe there was someone there that's, wanting to really care for the homeless. That's a beautiful thing. I just wanted to explain why I was laughing or shaking my head. I said, this is crazy. This is crazy. Even, there are churches here that have homeless population, but it's like that you still got to compartmentalize this, because you don't know they could be harm to the child. These are strangers.
Now, this is what we experienced when we were living there. There were some weird people there, and we were begging Kent, get them off campus.
Let me bring one example. That girl.
The guy that was rolling around on the cafeteria floor with demons or whatever.
Let's talk about the girl with the crystals.
Yeah.
So the crystal story, she laid out these crystals that she stole from the bookstore on the pool table down at the pavilion and was doing some kind of seance, and Paul Hansen caught her doing it. And it wasn't, I think, the next day that Kent baptized this girl in the lake. And all the while she was walking around telling people that Eminem, you know, the rapper, the most vulgar and grotesque rap artist there is, that Eminem was actually the Messiah, and that Jesus was just in disguise and going incognito to fool people so they wouldn't know who he is, so he could ultimately take over. And
But
Kent
he
baptized
baptizes
this
her.
girl. He baptized this girl and then brags about it on his YouTube channel. Like, we got another baptism today. Well, you baptize somebody that worships Eminem. That's wild.
That's not a real Christianity. That's not a real baptism. That's a number count. Shame.
Exactly.
And the fact that you are trying to help homeless people can be a cloak for trying to look like a good Christian, which I think it is in Kent's case.
Mm-hmm.
And second of all, it's also a tax shelter issue. That's why they opened it up as a homeless shelter, because of a tax thing or a church thing.
All right. So now that we've discussed all that, let's move on to the next.
I have to do two more things. Okay. She said that I kicked out my tenants with only a few days' notice. Sandra, do you believe everything Kent tells you? I made it quite public. They had a 38-day notice, not a 3-day notice. 38 days I gave them. Secondly, they had destroyed the property. And Stephen Bolin was the person that gave me that idea. He said, Cindi, they're destroying your property. Your property is going to be worth $0 if you don't get them out. I had an appraiser come. I paid $59,000 for that house. He appraised it as a tear down. I was lucky enough to be able to sell it for about $35,000. They were destroying my property, Sandra. This is not an issue of narcissism. Same with Steve Lynn. I evicted Steve Lynn after begging my husband for 7 months, please get him out. He's calling me a Jezebel. He's not paying rent. He's doing drugs in my house. He's lying. He won't let me in to do repairs. It was horrific. And I had good reason for evicting him, Sandra Sawyer.
All right, now that I've extended that conversation, let's get on to the next.
I'm sorry, I have one other one.
Really?
She accused me of trying to divide families. She accused me of the evil of trying to divide her family and divide Joanna's family. Okay? Joanna, I called her daughter to find out if it was true, because Julie was telling me, Cindi, Joanna's lying. Joanna told me that I have to bring her to work because her daughter just called her a whore. And her daughter wants nothing to do with her. And Julie said, Cindi, she's been lying to you for a long time with all her crazy stories. Call her daughter and ask. So I called her daughter. No, she hadn't called her a whore. And there was 2 other things that I was able to verify where I discovered that Joanna was lying to me with these wild stories. Okay, that's it. Is that dividing a family? Actually, it probably did divide the family, but that's because Joanna was busted lying. And her daughter doesn't rightfully want anything to do with that kind of behavior. But for me to call and ask a question, did you call your mom a whore? I promise I won't judge you if you did. I just want to know the truth. That is not dividing a family, Sandra Sawyer, again, believing anything that you're told. Secondly, when I contacted Sandra's Facebook list, it was in desperation. I could not believe, after all I had put out, all the evidence I had put out, that she had married Kent and was moving in there with 2 children. She had Steve Lynn alone with her 10-year-old daughter in the lake cabin on a regular basis.
Yeah, that ain't good.
And I did not have any sort of a motive to divide her family. My motive was to alert her. And since she wouldn't listen to me, I was begging her family, somebody talk some sense into this girl. So I'm not going to defend that action. It might have been the wrong thing to do. It might not have. Some people say it was good I tried to warn them. Some people said I shouldn't have nosed in. I don't know. But regardless of which one it is, it's not the motive to divide a family. How dare this woman attack a woman that she has never even met? She simply believes everything Kent feeds into her gullible little mouth. Thank you.
Alrighty, now let's actually transition to the next point, because now Joanna's about to take center stage and we're about to be introduced to a whole new world of crazy. I'll just warn you right now. Go ahead and screen share. I have some thoughts about it, but I'm not going to say them until we've watched a couple of clips. Anyway, there we go.
Well, was Joanna there when Cindi was going through Sandra's list? Joanna, you've just been gone less than a week. Did you see her contact all the Facebook people from Sandra?
You got to
She's
unmute
muted.
your mic there, ma'am. You got to.
You are muted, Joanna. You are
Okay,
muted.
can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Can you hear me yet?
Yeah.
Okay. She bragged several times to me that she was doing that, and she was very smug about it. And she did the same thing to me.
She bragged about calling Sandra's children and trying to
Yes.
cause a disturbance in a family.
Yes, and she showed me disturbing texts that she was writing to Sandra's son, her teenage son, very sexual messages that she was writing, accusing Kent and trying to turn the son away from him when he wrote to her politely to stop it. And that if she was writing to say something nice, basically he would talk to her. But if he had horrible things to say, that he said that Kent was the nicest stepdad he'd ever had.
Wow, that is just incredible.
But she wouldn't stop.
Would you guys like to respond to what Joanna just said?
That's true. My son let me read everything. He was trying to be turning from a boy to a man, and he didn't want mom to have to handle all his affairs. But one day I just kindly said, listen, Cindi has contacted a lot of my friends and family. They text me every now and then and said, Cindi just won't stop. Has she texted you? And he let me read it. And it was like Joanna said, he would be so kind to her and say, please don't talk like that. Please stop. And she wouldn't. So yes, Joanna is correct.
So we're going to stop right there and respond. And as we could see in that particular clip, Joanna claims that Cindi openly bragged to her about contacting all of Sandra's friends and family like a braggart. Bit of projection there. Johanna also claims that Cindi sent sexual text messages to Sandra's son, Isaiah. Now, I don't really have anything to say as far as commentary goes, but I would like to ask Cindi if she would be okay with me showing a slideshow on the screen of all the text correspondence between you and Isaiah, because I think we could make a fun game out of this for the viewers at home. They can see all the slides on the screen, all the messages you and Isaiah had of each other, and they can play a variation of Where's Waldo. Instead of it being Where's Waldo, though, it'll be of where did Cindi ever send him a text that in any way, shape, or form was sexual in nature?
If you put them on the screen and you don't narrate them, it's very difficult for people watching on a phone to be able to read them.
Well, what I'll do is I'll have each one on the screen long enough that a person watching the replay of this can go pause, read what's on there, and then, do the same thing with all the others. Because there's way too much text in those messages to do on this show. This show would go like 8 hours, and I don't want to do that. So
Yeah,
are you okay? Are you okay with me showing all those texts on screen while you guys are talking?
Just for the record, you read them, correct?
Yes, and she's lying, so.
That's the bottom line. Because since you are a neutral third party and you read them, then that helps. Since, like you said, I believe there was 35 screenshots that I sent you. And you noticed that
42 actually, but
okay. But the fact that I turned them over shows that obviously if it was as they say, I wouldn't have turned them over.
Riddle me this, Johanna and Sandra. If she was guilty of sending sexual text messages to Isaiah, why the hell would Cindi give me all of them?
And why didn't they put any of it on the screen?
Which is why I want to put them on screen to show that they're lying. I mean,
and
if
why
I
aren't the
don't, they
police
could say
involved?
we're lying too, and I want to take the he said, she said out of it.
Yeah.
Right. And why aren't the police involved if an adult was contacting a minor in a sexual way? Usually people go to jail for that. I know some of Kent's friends have.
You know what else? This is something to point out. Okay, so Stephen Bolin made that same accusation that they were sexually charged and maybe I'm the pervert. And then Kent jumps on this whole thing about, well, Mark lives with his daughter. He must be the pervert. And then Joanna says they were sexually charged. And then Sandra says they were sexually charged. Okay, please, will you please notice the lack of integrity of these false witnesses? Please notice the lack of integrity of these false witnesses. I know it's convincing. It's extremely alarming to me that there's 4 of them, because if you're going to just go by numbers, that's alarming. It looks like they must be telling the truth. However, you have to look at the evidence, and the evidence is just supporting the polar opposite of what these false witnesses are saying. Thank you, TTOR.
Go ahead and fill the air, guys. I'm just going to finish this slideshow.
You know, Kent used to lump me into that category of contacting his family. Well, in reality, Kent's son Eric contacted me and told me I needed to make an escape plan back when I was still at Dinosaur Adventureland. And
are you kidding?
Mm-hmm. Dead serious. And it was
I didn't
actually
know that.
so one of Sandra's kids contacted me, not the other way around. Actually, I think she was commenting on some of my Facebook posts somewhere. I don't remember exactly how it went down, but she initiated contact with me. And Kent went on his show talking about how I was the one that was harassing Sandra's family. And the only time I've ever even spoken to Isaiah was on a phone call that was initiated by Sandra. She handed the phone to Isaiah. So Kent wants to say that I was doing all that too. And it's like, yeah, I've talked to some of Kent's kids. I've talked to some of Sandra's kids, but they called me. Whoa.
You made a really good observation, Cindi. You said if those allegations of Sandra and Joanna, they have an excellent opportunity to call the police on you.
Yeah.
If they really wanted to bury you, they'd call the police on you. You know, not just throw all this text out. And I'm like, yeah. And by the way, if it involves your son, wouldn't you call the police if you feel okay?
A 60-year-old woman is making a sexual come on to your 16-year-old son. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty absurd. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When I'm done sharing these last few slides, I'll share my thoughts. All right, that's all of them. All 42 screenshots that Cindi sent me of the texts between her and Isaiah that they're all talking about. Now, having shown them all on screen to you and having read through them all before we went live here today, there is no sexual text between Cindi and Isaiah. Now, you could argue legitimately, if you go back and read through all the screenshots, that maybe she unloaded way too much information on him all at once, and some of it's pretty dark stuff. And when you unload a bunch of information on anybody, adult or child, and a lot of it's really dark, it overwhelms them. And that's why I think Isaiah kept referring to, well, this has nothing to do with me. I don't know anything about that. I think Cindi did make the mistake of overwhelming him, but I think she was doing it from a place of concern and good intentions because she doesn't want any children to suffer over there.
snap him out of his denial. It's like, look, Isaiah, I am not making this up. This is not minimum stuff. This is not the classic, what do they call it? Scorned woman.
Mhm.
It's not that me and Kent didn't get along, so I'm going to destroy him. That is not what's going on here. I was sharing the ugly truth so he could see. But I'm not going to argue that I did the right thing or the wrong thing.
It's okay. We can't be perfect all the time, and I know you were just trying to warn him. I can tell that just by reading the messages. But yeah, for Sandra to sit there and say that, oh yeah, Joanna's right, you totally were sending sexual text messages to my son. How you can look in the camera, Sandra, and say that when you know that that's a straight up lie? God does not approve of that. Jesus does not smile upon that. There's nothing Christian about what you just did in that clip. Nothing even remotely Christian. And even if your motivation is to help protect your husband, you know you can't do that. You know deep down in your heart and soul that you can't do that. So shame on you for being such a blatant liar.
TTOR, can I ask you the other part of it? So you didn't see anything sexual, but did you see that my motive was to divide her family?
No, you totally were just trying to warn him. And like I said, I think you overdid it, overshared too much information. But there's no family division thing going on. There are even some messages you explained to him that you weren't trying to do that, and that you didn't want him to have bad relationships with his mom or the rest of his family. That you were just trying to simply protect him and his family from what Kent and his goons could possibly do to them in the future.
And also to guard his heart, because he's thinking that everything in there is such a great thing. And I said, yeah, I thought the same thing. And then you get the rug pulled out from under you, and it really hurts.
I saw those messages too. Yep.
And if we look at the pattern that's been going on with Kent, he goes from family to family. He's got a new wife every couple of years. None of Kent's behaviors are changing that indicates this pattern is going to change. So it's reasonable to tell these people that, hey, this is what you're headed for. This is the history of it. This is the pattern. This is what's coming your way. You might as well go ahead and get ready for it, because there's been no change in Kent Hovind. He treats people the exact same way he's always treated people, and that's as if they're beneath him.
And
well, I gotta say, Cindi, and please forgive me. Sometimes you do give a data dump, and I can't take it. Even I can't take it. It's like, can we talk about something else?
Yeah, but yeah, we all make mistakes, Cindi. I mean, sometimes even I've overshared information with people and given them too much at once in the past. So I mean, I think we can all relate to making that mistake, and it's not something we would hold against you as a serious negative.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, exactly. I don't.
Yeah.
It's like,
it is.
I mean, I like it. It doesn't make it a sin.
Right.
I think that, and I experienced this before in my life, when you're going through trauma and you're going through something really heavy, just sharing it with people, it's too heavy for them. And so I have a choice: either share it with no one, or, I don't want to put people off. And I really appreciate people who can help bear that burden with me, because it is a heavy and ugly burden.
Well, I think what you've done with your YouTube channel, where you've basically made separate videos for the gargantuan amount of evidence that you have, that's probably one of the best things that you've done so far. That is actually a great help to someone like me, because then I can find all the hard data that I want, or ask you directly if it's not in one of your videos. But I think the next step for you will be figuring out ways to present information to people in bits without overwhelming them. And I think that's just something you're going to have to figure out with trial and error and practice, kind of like learning how to play a sport.
My last few videos have been just isolated parts. Take one topic and try and keep it under a half an hour, instead of my very first documentary was 4 hours.
Yeah, that's a lot. But anyway, we got another clip to look at. Let's go ahead and pull up the magic screen share. Share that audio. Boink. All right, here we go.
Oh,
Well,
goodness.
it's evil, brother. It's just pure evil. I don't think God would lead anybody to do such a thing like that. She should go build her own friend list. Her circle is shrinking really small. People that listen to her and friend her, and it's sad. She's doing it all to herself. Her finances are drying up, but she did it to herself. I texted her shortly after she kicked Steve out. I said, before she had me banned from texting her, I can't contact her now and won't, believe me. I said, Cindi, you had $700 a month income coming in from a rental house. You had me paying all utilities and food here. You left for no good reason. So not only did you lose your utilities and free food and your free utilities and housing here, you lost $700 a month over there. What are you thinking? Don't blame me. You caused your financial problems. You know, an alcoholic always tries to blame everybody else. No, you did it. Stop drinking. A person who smokes eventually gets sick. Don't blame anybody else. You stuck the butt in your mouth. Stop. Okay.
So, as we saw in that clip there, we saw Kent claim that Cindy's friend circle is shrinking and that her finances are drying up and she did it to herself. Of course, that's kind of hard to believe, especially the part about Cindy's friend circle shrinking because, well, Sal's now one of her friends and I'm now one of her friends. Where's this shrinking friend circle that Kent's talking about? I'm pretty sure Cindi has new friends now that she didn't have before she decided to start exposing you, Kent.
Well, he's talking about Stephen Boland and now Johanna, who used to be Cindy's friend and were very disingenuous about their friendship because they turned around and stabbed her in the back and it was completely unwarranted. So yeah, in that sense, her friendship has shrunk by 2.
But I stepped in. Sal and I
go.
Stepped in, so she didn't really lose any friends. It's a net gain of 0.
Net gain.
Yeah.
There we go.
There has been a lot of betrayal, and it's absolutely stunning.
Mm-hmm.
There has been a lot of betrayal to where you think you know somebody and they know how to act and play the part of a Christian friend. And then, like you said, Mark, stab you in the back and start telling lies about you. The other thing Kent says, I left for no good reason.
That's a lie. Straight from the pit of
Well,
hell.
Kent wasn't Kent like spraying you with a garden hose in your house, in your bedroom? Like, that was just one thing, a small example, but he basically chased you out, you know?
Yeah, he's chased me out. That was one of several incidents when I first had the drug thing exposed, and he was calling me a bipolar crybaby because I didn't like it how he was calling us liars and that Steve was telling the truth, and I wouldn't sleep with him. He started this whole thing where he put the garden hose through the window and wet the spare bed so that I'd be forced out of the spare bedroom to go and sleep with him. Even though Steve had just called me a Jezebel and Kent had said, "Oh, I agree." And then he took the bed out of the room. He took the door off the hinges. He changed the lock on the door. He said, "Oh, we don't have a contract." What contract? I didn't have authority to sign any contract. And then he body slammed me. And then he allowed Steve to threaten me with a gun. And then Steve did $10,000 worth of vandalism. No, Sandra, I didn't do $10,000 worth of vandalism to my own property. That's a pretty expensive way to hurt someone if I really wanted to hurt Kent. And Kent wouldn't even come and view the damages. And the final straw why I left is the day after Kent wouldn't come see the damages, he appointed Steve to the board. Now, if that's not the writing on the wall, that was the writing on the wall. I had real good reason to leave.
And that's Kent's MO for getting rid of people he doesn't want. He makes it intolerable for them to stay there. For me, it was his insistence on bringing Chris Jones around, because I had told him 6 months prior, the last time that Chris Jones was at Dinosaur Adventureland, I said, Kent, look, I've got a kid. I've already had custody issues with her mother and then with my parents. I'm not willing to risk putting that, willingly being around a pedophile this way. I'm not really willing to risk put that on my plate. So if he comes back, I'm not going to be here. I'm going to leave, and I will not come back. So what does Kent do? He brings Chris Jones with the express intent of driving me away, and then runs around and says that I got kicked out and all that stuff. But yeah, that's what Kent does. He finds out what it is that you can't stand. He finds out what it is that is your red line, and he will just stomp all over it and then say, well, they left. I couldn't do anything about it.
That is evil sociopathic behavior. And also, Mark, I have a recording. I begged him to please not let you to leave and to not have Chris Jones on campus.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a recording of Kent Hovind saying, oh yeah, if Mark leaves, it's going to be the biggest mistake of his life. He did not.
What?
What?
No, look, I've made mistakes in my life, and really one of the biggest mistakes in my life was
going
leaving. Yeah, going to Dinosaur Adventureland in the first place. And Cindi, you were the first person to talk to me when I got there for the second time without my daughter. And what did you tell me? You told me to leave. You don't need to be here. This isn't the place for you. Go back home. And I didn't listen, and I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to say that recording proves that you were not crazy. You were not an undesirable. Kent wanted you to stay.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted you to labor.
Yeah, that free labor that those Dems love.
It's funny. He talks about, I've never built anything. There's not a building on that campus that he can walk into that I haven't done something construction wise on, except for his new church. They built that since I've been there, but everything else I helped build. So he can take that and shove it.
Same with Shiloh.
Mm-hmm.
He's saying that, and Sandra said it recently, that, they put thousands of dollars into Shiloh, therefore they don't have to pay the 20-year contract that he signed. And Sandra, again, I have this vision of little baby birds with their mouth open. Mommy, feed me. I'll take whatever you give me. What the heck, man? You have no clue. And Mark helped do some of that construction at Shiloh, and he knows how many lies Kent tells about that.
Mm-hmm.
Nick and I paid $30,000 for those repairs. I bought the roof. Kent didn't buy the roof.
Yep.
All righty.
Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
You got something to say, Sal?
Yeah, just as an outside observer, whatever the drama, I don't like being involved, like in this, especially if it's a couple that was divorced. There's lots of hard feelings, but looking to Christ, look at a missionary named William Carey. His wife had mental issues, probably because of all the trauma, losing children, and she tried to kill him. But William Carey, man of God, he stuck by her. He was willing to die for his wife. It says in Ephesians, husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church and gave his life for her. I saw none of that attitude. It's like Cindi was being treated for, was not treated with value. And that's, I'm just saying as an outside observer, a man of God, that's just not appropriate. And the way he's talking about her now, it doesn't ring a compassion. It's like taunting and insulting her. Even when someone is, I know guys who've divorced their wife and they
don't gaslight him to that extent.
Yeah, one of them really did have a meltdown, but the husband doesn't talk about her. He grieves. He sincerely grieves. Kent's laughing. Oh, look, you're just so pathetic now, kind of that attitude. And he's like he's enjoying seeing his ex-wife suffer. I have a friend, his ex-wife wanted the divorce, and it breaks his heart even to this day when she's, he's wondering if she's okay. And I just don't see any of that. I just had to weigh in, because, I was raised in a family where dad would give his life for my mom. He literally did, Some guy was threatening her. He said, he told the guy, you got to kill me first before you get to her. And I just, that's the model of a Christian marriage. It doesn't matter how many tracts you've given out or how many baptisms of crazy people you've done. That doesn't count in God's eyes. So I'm sorry to be preachy. I was just really I was grieved to hear him just insult you like that, Cindi. That was sad.
I don't think that was, you shouldn't apologize for that, Sal. I think that's actually a major thing. And that's another reason why I do a part of my channel that I do, because I don't want Kent Hovind's example lifted up as a Christian marriage. That is not the love of Christ. And on my channel is one of Sal's shows that he did Valentine's of last year that talks about the marriage and the love of Christ. And, AJ, who's supposedly an atheist and so much lower than Kent, he pointed out that even if I was bipolar, is that something you mock and divorce?
Yeah.
No, it's not.
My sister took care. She ran a nursing home, Alzheimer's patients. It is tragic. But these spouses of Alzheimer's patients, they go down with their spouse. I mean, it took a lot out of them, but they didn't leave because that's the only one. And so that's no excuse. Exactly what you said. Someone's sick, you care for them.
You don't turn the whole campus against them and use it as an excuse. It's just evil.
I hate to break up the Hallmark conversations. I really do, because they're really nice. They're really nice, but I do think we need to continue on the Kent Hovind track.
Go ahead.
So let's see, present, because we got another long clip, and this is Johanna talking, and well, you're gonna get a good laugh out of this one, I think, or at least a good chuckle. All right, there we go. We can all see the stream and go.
Now, Joanna, your motor home is here. I paid $250 to bring it over here. Okay. If somebody would like to buy it, we've been searching. It's an 85 Winnebago, in pretty good shape. Inside is trash, but most of that can be cleaned up. Needs battery and a couple little things, but it seems to be going for about $4,000 or $5,000. Does that sound about right?
The generator in it, I was told, is worth at least a couple thousand, and I had put some improvements in it. I really don't know the extent to the damages, if it was the electric cord or the wiring itself. Cindi would always point out, look, Joanna, Kent and his people cut your wires. Look, Joanna, they threw your batteries outside in the rain. Look, they did this. Look, this is broken. Look. And I would go and fix everything. And then her and Nick and Julie would say, oh, look, Kent and his people are doing the stuff. And she called the sheriff and his people and said, oh, they're trying to get me. And she told Doug, her neighbor, you guys are trying to get her. And then they switched and said, no, Joanna, you're crazy. You're mentally ill. You did it to yourself. You're doing all this stuff to your son and yours RV yourself. And I said, what are you saying? Why are you doing this? Why are you calling my relatives and my friends and telling them horrible stuff about me? And I think it was because at first she was doing stuff on her property at Pasmara to my RV and pointing it out, and at her property at the 26298 property in Range, Alabama. And they said, the sheriff department said her insurance, she's liable for the damages to my son's and I's RV. And I said, no, I'm not going to press charges. I feel sorry for her. I'm sorry that her and Nick and Julie are deceived by Satan and that they're trying to destroy ministries. I have a very small ministry, TJ Zion Phoenix Rising, and it's just to help people out. And I'm not rich like they're trying to tell people. I am a professional scammer and always on radio shows. And this is my second time that I've ever been live. I mean, I've I was scared.
Thank you, Joanna.
Alrighty, so as we saw in that nice long rambling clip, Joanna claims that Cindi, Julie, and Nick would constantly tell her that Kent's cronies were vandalizing her stuff when it was really Cindi doing it. She also claims that Cindi was contacting all of Joanna's family and friends to tell them horrible things about Joanna. Joanna also claims that Cindi and her friends were being led by Satan to destroy Johanna's ministry, as well as Kent's ministry and other people's ministries as well. All I have to ask to Cindi and Mark and Sal, if he wants to chip in, is what say ye?
Okay, I was actually at Cindy's property while Joanna was still there. This is right before she left, back in this past December, just a month ago. A little over a month ago. I was actually there, and Joanna led me around, showing me her RV, telling me how and where she thought that Kent and his people had damaged it. She would show me the fire pit that she said that Kent and his people came and kicked bricks over and messed with her. She showed me all these things, and you know, I was entertaining it, and I was looking around like, it doesn't look like anybody's been here. The damage you showed me on your RV looks like that's been there for a long time. Yeah, sure, there's a can out in the backyard that was shot with a bird shot at some point. Looks like it's been out there probably 5 years. And there was a bag of air duster sitting out there that it looked like it had been out there for a few years. And it's like, Joanna, it doesn't look like anybody's been out here but you. Like, and what's with the air dusters anyway? And so she was trying to convince me that Kent had done all these things, or Kent's people, whether it was Laszlo or Freddie coming through the woods, or Sandra running through the woods. And it was Joanna, not Cindi. It was Joanna saying that these things were done by Kent. So what is she talking about? She's lying. She's lying. That's all. Cindi,
you can talk. You gotta unmute though.
Sorry, honey. What did Skylar just put up? I couldn't read it. It went by too fast.
TTOR, I'd like it to be publicly known that we all were afraid to move Joanna's trailer the very first time. Her RV was absolutely horrible before it ever left Dino Land the first time.
Yeah, and that was 2020. So it was already in horrible condition. The thing's, it's worthless. It's falling apart. It's got water damage all throughout. None of the electrical works. None of the plumbing works. It's worthless. The generator, I don't know anything about it, but it doesn't work. And so it surely isn't worth any kind of thousands of dollars. It's worthless. So it probably wasn't worth the $250 that it cost Kent to tow it to Dinosaur Adventureland.
Yeah, if she hadn't have towed it away, I was probably going to torch it.
Well,
It would be for scrap. So at one point, when she left Pasmara, of course, they're blaming me for the damage at Pasmara too. When Joanna left Pasmara, I was supposed to go into the RV and get her belongings and ship them to her. And it was stunning how the dirt in the carpet was like 50 years old. And the dishes and the scum on the sink were 20 years old. I mean, it was in very disgusting shape.
And here's the sad part about that. Kent took pictures and put them on his YouTube channel to say that Cindi did this mess, but it was just her typical living conditions.
He also does it in this live stream we're responding to as well, but I think we're skipping that part because it's basically just an ad that he did for the trailer.
Sure, and
it's really
that's just how she lived.
You can tell the dirt is 50 years old. I mean, it's just grunge. It's not vandalism, it's just grunge. And anyway, what else did she say? Improvements. Okay. Yeah, never mind.
Well,
I think more than the trailer stuff, I think you should definitely respond to her claiming that you and Mark are being led by Satan to destroy the ministries of good Christians like her and Kent.
Yes.
I think that's more prevalent right now to respond to that.
I never said anything about Joanna's ministry.
In fact, TTOR, why don't you put up some of those screenshots from her ministry website?
I don't have those. You'll have to send me a link in the private chat or something.
No, I will say
Her-
this. Joanna claims to be an ordained minister, which if you follow the Bible, it says that women are not allowed to usurp authority over man, not in the church setting. So that automatically disqualifies her ministry.
Whoopsie.
Right.
I did want to say this. It
Go
didn't.
ahead.
If Cindy's being accused of vandalizing Joanna's property, it's like, what's the motive? I mean,
There are cheaper ways to get back at Kent and his cronies than that method.
I mean, why are you going to damage your own tenant on your own property? I mean,
well, wait a minute, Sal. She wasn't a tenant. She was living there rent free.
Oh yeah, and I will say this. I mean, this is all secondhand, kind of, but there were times like when Cindy and I were recording molecular biology shows. She said, "Well, it has to stop because I have to go drive Joanna somewhere." I'm just like, that doesn't sound like someone that's going to be vandalizing. So when I got all the stories that Joanna was saying that her property is being vandalized, I wanted to go send a gun to Cindy and said, you better protect yourself because that's what the sheriff told you to do. Just go get a gun. I was very concerned for Cindy's safety. So,
It was Joanna that was saying that we were being vandalized, and I called the police one time and they told me to get a gun. And there's two things on my channel. There's a recording. Oh, shoot. Sorry, it gets too complicated. I wanted to tag team off of what Sal just said. Oh yeah, picking her up from work every night. So to her shame, she is attacking someone, actually me and Julie and Nick, who tried to help her. I had her living here for free because I was trying to help her. And to Brett Keene, he said, "Oh, Kent's always helping the homeless. What have Cindy and Mark done?" Both Cindy and Mark have tried to help people and given them homes who have left Dinosaur Adventureland without anything. And that's what I was doing for Joanna. She was living here rent-free because I was caring for her as a sister, as a fellow abuse victim from Kent Hovind, as a fellow trauma victim. I was taking her to work, just like Julie was. Shame on her for slandering me.
Wait. You mean you were actually doing what Kent brags about doing on YouTube videos? Really?
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get back on the Joanna train because, well, you know how people are about train wrecks. They just can't look away. Anyway, here we go. Back to the action. Just going to check my notes really quick. Okay, that's where we're going. All right.
Well, for the record, I have never been on her property since I was told not to. I have never been on any of her properties since I was told to stay away from her. I stay away gladly. Okay. None of the people here that work in our ministry have gone over there. We don't vandalize anything. We don't throw rocks on the roof. It's her imagination, or she or Nick or Julie are doing it and then trying to blame it on me.
Yes.
And the sheriff, calling the sheriff constantly, the sheriff's getting sick and tired of her too. I'll take a lie detector test. I did not do any of those things she's accusing me of.
Well, it's kind of obvious when you sit there and she's telling Joanna, hey, they're out there, they're going to do this to you, they're going to do that to you. And then it happens. Joanna became smart enough to see, wait, she can't predict the future and everything she says is going to happen. So she became smart to it and she understands. Joanna also shared with me right before Halloween, I got a box on my patio, and it was filled with old lingerie, and I had no idea where it came from, but it was addressed to me, kind of making it look like it went through the mail, but I knew it didn't because it didn't have the little barcodes. And I thought, who in the world would have delivered me this old lingerie? And I just threw it away, out of sight, out of mind, completely forgot about it. And then Joanna had the decency to tell me she wanted to confess. And she said, I'm sorry I did this to you. And Joanna, you can tell them what happened.
Was that Cindi wanted you to do that, or what was that story?
Yes, Cindi actually said she was going to have somebody go over and kill you. She said she was going to make poison cookies and she wanted me to deliver them. And I said, Cindi, stop, that's crazy. And then she was like, well, you're the one that's crazy. And then she finally, to get her jollies, got this idea in her head. And I at first thought she was going to send you guys a present, Sandra a present. And then later she was laughing and whooping it up, saying that it was this box of lingerie and that every time you saw Sandra in it, you would be hurt and think about her. And she was just raging and raging and raging and insanely jealous that you guys were trying to be happy and have a new life together. And I'm very sorry that I left that on the deck for Sandra. Very sorry. And later I was friends with Sandra on Facebook and realized she wasn't the terrible marriage robber that Cindi had said. There was no marriage left.
Amen.
Okay, I gotta summarize that first before we all get our laugh on. Let's see.
Okay, I can testify. Cindi has never said she wanted to poison Kent. Just wanted to kick him in the groin. All right.
So we saw Johanna claim that Cindi was going to make poisoned cookies and send them to Kent and Sandra. She also claimed that Cindi would make her deliver a box full of lingerie to Sandra so that Sandra would be thinking about Cindi. Johanna also claims that Cindi was jealous of the fact that Kent and Sandra were allegedly so happy together, and she claimed that Cindi thought of Sandra as a marriage robber. I'd like to say before we continue on, this portrayal of Cindi as a crazy, miserable lady who regrets breaking up with Kent so much that she resorts to claiming that Sandra stole Kent from her does not even sound even remotely like the Cindi Lincoln that I've been talking to for a while. But it does sound like the version of Cindi Lincoln that Johanna made up in her recent fan fiction, though.
Yeah, and also Johanna is projecting here, totally projecting. These were her ideas. These were her ideations, and Kent Hovind, in his delusion, has even taken it as far. And I don't know if you guys know this, but Kent's current channel is stricken. It's on a 2-week suspension, so he's been posting on his second channel, Dinosaur Adventureland, and it was either in his most recent or the one before he confessed that this cookie plot was actually carried out. He says on his channel that Cindi actually had poisonous cookies delivered to his house. So
What?
Oh yeah, he sure did. He sure did. Big Bad Mama just did a video highlighting that on his channel there, on over there on Big Bad Mama's channel. So if you haven't seen that yet, go check it out. But yeah, Kent's acting as if it actually happened. And it's crazy though, because it was Johanna's idea.
And Sandra's believing it, hook, line, and sinker.
All the way. All the way.
Okay, well, I don't think there's much to say to that because it's just so out there. But but I think at this point I can mention too, I've noticed at watching this part that we've been watching through that basically no one here is presenting hard evidence like videos, audio recordings, documents, whatever. Instead, they're just saying stuff and throwing it out there. They're throwing mud, as Kent Hovind likes to say. From what I can see, Sandra seems to be following the lead of whatever Kent Hovind says. And then Johanna, in turn, seems to be following the lead of whatever Sandra says. So it's like basically they colluded together and they're like, okay, this is how Kent's going to lead things. And basically Sandra just follow Kent's lead and Johanna just follow Sandra's lead and sometimes Kent's lead. Like that's the way that seems to be playing out to me when I've been watching through this. And none of this at all feels even remotely like real testimony that's valid.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that.
Because like in a courtroom, this comes off as something that, they colluded together so they can't be allowed to, talk before the court, like however that rule works.
Yeah.
Because the courts have a real issue with eyewitness collusions, and this is exactly what that feels like to me.
On the other hand, I presented you with Isaiah's messages. I presented you with Johanna's texts showing her true self or her how she faked off to me. I showed you my psyche eval. What else did I give you? I don't know. I'm trying my hardest to give all the hard evidence that I have.
Oh yeah, your psych eval. I don't have that pulled up right now, but I have looked at it, and yeah, the only thing that you've been diagnosed with pretty much is PTSD that you got from Kent body slamming you into the ground back in 2020.
From being gaslit for
And all the other stuff that came with that, yeah. Yeah. But anyway, let's get back on the crazy train again. Let's see. All right, let me just make sure we're at the right spot. And I think we pretty much are. Yes, okay. We can screen share now. I am the worst commercial guy at this point, but who cares? This is a YouTube stream. All right, let's let it rip.
Well, I got out of the when Cindi and I were married. I got out of the shower one time, and there's some old granny type woman's underwear there on the sink.
Wow.
What a lie.
Yes, and she accused me of having sex with you and of those being mine at first, and said I was a whore. That was horrible.
Johanna, can I ask you something? Whenever she said that she wanted to go full on Hansel and Gretel and put poison in cookies and all this, did you call the police and let them know that she's talking about actually harming and killing this man?
No, I wasn't able to, because at first she had given me this really weird thing after I believed that the vandalism that was being done was actually by people from DAL, and she was telling me they were trying to kill me and they had said terrible things about me on the internet and all these awful things that her friends and her are saying about me being this mentally ill street whore from Pensacola, Florida, and giving my number out to people and harassing my family and saying I never lived in Hawaii, never had a business there, never worked for United Healthcare, the Department of Education, and all this crazy stuff, to the point where Julie Shunk wanted to go with me and have me say I did all of my RV damage myself and that I was crazy and get crazy pay of like $1,000 something a month and give it to Cindi. I'm like, no, I'm not. I took a whole slew of mental tests to even get jobs with those kind of agencies. And no, I'm not crazy, but I know who is. And even to say
not
that
crazy. I'm not crazy.
My own RV is sick. And I told Julie when Julie was in my face, just like Cindi was, and Cindi was going to slap me when I said, Cindi, I saw you yell and scream and swear at your mom over a little bit of candy I gave her that was sugar-free. You don't do that. Your mom's a wonderful lady. Your whole family wants nothing to do with you now.
Well, we're just going to stop right there. Yeah, as you could see in that particular clip, Johanna claims that Cindi accused Johanna of having sex with Kent Hovind, that the lingerie was Cindy's.
Wait. Well,
we're going to get
started that.
Yeah, but
Kent started that by saying that he got out of the shower. And
yeah, you can, Cindi, time out. You can say all of that after I finish summarizing the clip. Cindi accused Johanna of being a whore, allegedly. Johanna also claimed that Julie tried to get Johanna to falsely claim that Johanna had vandalized her own property so that she could get crazy pay to give Cindi a new income stream. And Johanna also accuses Cindi of committing abuse against Cindy's mother by withholding food. So now you can say everything you wanted to say, Cindi. Go.
Okay, there are so many lies. It's impossible to address all of them, but I'm going to focus on Kent Hovind. He said that he got out of the shower and found women's underwear. Okay. I have a whole entire video on the underwear incident. If you want to see the text message with the timestamp that shows the photo, I never accused Johanna of having sex. What I did was when I got out of the shower and Kent had put women's underwear in the garbage hanging over the edge so that I could see them, I took pictures and at first I was like, oh my gosh, my husband's having an affair. And I thought, just relax, stay calm. Let's think this through logically. Maybe it was just a laundry incident. So I sent a picture to my mother and to Johanna, and I said, are these yours? And so there's timestamps on those photos. on those texts. And there's a recording where Kent, you can hear that he came into the shower and he said, "Oh, I'm just getting my swimming trunks. Anyway, long story short, what a lying piece of crap. And Joanna's response was just, "No, they aren't mine. I try and keep my underwear on when I'm at Kent's house." So if you want to conflate or say that I accused her of sleeping with Kent, she's just lying through her teeth. Just lying through her teeth.
And isn't it amazing how she can just throw out like a bazillion things all in like a couple of minutes, and she doesn't have to give proof of any of it, and her word is apparently gospel truth to Kent Hovind.
And what stands out to me is she's sitting there saying, I'm not crazy. But if you've seen the recordings on Cindy's channel with Julie talking to Joanna, this was a couple of days prior to Joanna defecting and going back over to the Kent Hovind side and spewing all these lies. Joanna was talking about being out of her medication, and if she ran out of her medication, she would go crazy and that nobody would ever believe her and all this stuff. So like it was kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy. She said she was going to go nuts, and she did.
And that also reminds me of the Mario video I showed earlier in the stream, because later on in that video, there's a clip where Mario, over a span of like 70 seconds, tells Gary 828 6 to 8 times that he is your brother in Christ, and therefore you shouldn't be attacking him and exposing him like you have been. It's like, I'm a brother, I'm your brother in Christ, I'm your brother. I'm like, wow. I don't think you're his brother if you have to say that like 7 times in 60 seconds.
No.
That I learned in high school when we were studying Shakespeare, and it said, but Judas is an honorable man. But Judas was an honorable man. But Judas was an honorable man.
Mm-hmm.
And it proves the opposite.
But
if you have to say something a bazillion times to prove that you are that something, chances are you're probably not.
But there's a scripture, 1 Timothy 5:20. You're supposed to rebuke elders publicly, church leaders publicly. We have done that. That there's nothing wrong about us trying to call this out. It's our sacred duty.
Thank you, Sal.
Well, one of the complaints is for their privacy. I know that one particular YouTuber is always saying, well, we should just respect Kent's privacy. But that kind of all went out the window when he decided to become a public figure and a pastor at that. Public figures are held to a higher standard by not just the Christian community, but also the unbelieving world, but especially with a pastor. The Bible's very clear that you're supposed to live above reproach, beyond reproach, and Kent just doesn't do that. It's like he wants people to see all this drama. He wants this stuff out there. That's why he has to go on all these other channels to dump it. That's why he was using Brett Keene's channel as a dumping ground. That's why he was using Stephen Boland's channel as a dumping ground, because he has to do these kind of things.
He doesn't want his donors finding out.
Yep.
And so he does it on another channel.
Which I kind of question that strategy, because as we talked about earlier in the stream, almost nobody who's subscribed to him watches his channel. So, I mean, there's not much of an audience left for him.
Yeah.
Not only that,
I think the atheists who make videos about him actually draw more of an audience than his own channel does.
They do. That's a fact. That's a fact. Go look at AJ and Pelagia's expose on him. It's got like 50,000 views. But I wanted to piggyback off what Sal said. He said, we have a public duty to expose these people. And Mark was saying that somebody told him, oh, we should respect Kent's privacy. So the person who said that had to be a troll, because you don't tell anybody, hey, that pastor has a right to abuse his wife in private. That's private. Bull crap. Once you start abusing somebody, it's kind of like if you're a therapist, you have privacy with your client until they cross that line. Once they start talking about abuse to themselves or others, you don't have confidentiality. You just blew it, brother. You're going to be blown out of the water.
Plus, you know, there's that little passage in the New Testament that says that not only are wives supposed to submit to their husbands, but husbands are also supposed to not only submit to their wives, but they're all supposed to take care of them and cherish them like Christ cherished the church. Kent failed that test big time. And that's the understatement of 2023.
Yeah, 10,000 times.
Well, which time?
That's what I mean. Just take your pick, or add them all together into one big pot. Like, who cares?
And that goes back to why we were wanting to warn Sandra, is because it is a pattern. She is number 4. Nothing has changed. Why would we expect a different outcome?
Right.
Can I just say something? I was doing some research this week and I discovered the 2006 court transcripts. They're on a website called courtlistener.com. Somebody had told me that Kent threw his wife under the bus in 2006. And I actually found it in the transcript. He tried to say that she was the principal guilty party because she signed the checks.
Boy, that's some sacrificial love right there, let me tell you.
Wow, that's really protecting that waifu right there. As the kids would say today.
Somebody who was a witness, who was in the courtroom, who was a witness. And he said you could have heard a pin drop. Everybody was stunned that he would do that to his wife. No wonder she divorced his sorry ass.
And anyone who has a problem with Cindi Lincoln using that word at the end, you tolerate much worse than that when you deal with atheists and evolutionists and non-believers in general. So, yeah, you may want to not be a hypocrite on that.
Well, and I am sorry. And there's far worse things than saying Balaam's rear end, that when you're talking about a pastor who's lying and abusing his wife.
Yeah. So anyway, there are actually only 2 clips left in my notes that we're going to respond to. And then after that point, if we're all still feeling up to it, we'll open up the room to the public, and some of the people who are watching can feel free to join us. And as long as they can behave themselves in a civil manner, they can talk to us about anything. So let's get into the next to last clip of this live stream. Just gotta go here and here. Alrighty, and then here we go. Boom.
For your mom, and that was only because I talked to her, and I saw you hit Kent. I saw you hit him and scream and swear at him in front of your mom, and your mom was shocked. And she said, "You better keep your mouth shut. Everybody will think you're crazy. You better not say that in court." And she wouldn't let anybody talk to me, see me, anything. Once she got her hooks in me and got me tricked onto being on her property, she completely isolated me.
So you actually witnessed her physically assault Kent Hovind and do all these things.
Yes, I did.
And then on top of it, you found yourself in a scenario where she was going to physically assault you. Wow.
She actually said if I tried to go walking to work, because I used to give her like $20 a day to go 10 miles to take me to Dollar General, and I finally got a job. Her and Julie sabotaged that job, and then I was told if I tried to walk to work, I just might get shot or raped and killed.
Oof.
And Brett, she had no way to get there and back. So in order for her to even go to a police or try to reach out, not knowing if Cindy's taping her in the house for phone calls.
And Cindy Cindy had cameras up. Cindy had cameras and listening devices up. She told me.
So, as we could see in that lovely clip, Johanna claims that Cindi Lincoln assaulted her, isolated her from the world, that Cindy was charging Johanna money every time Johanna wanted to go into town, and she also claims that Cindy had cameras up around the property in order to spy on her and essentially keep her prisoner on the property. Before Cindy responds to that and anyone else responds to that, I just want to point out that if you go to one of Cindy's recent YouTube videos, she plays an audio file of Johanna talking to Julie, and you can clearly hear Johanna telling Julie that she was glad that the cameras were up around Cindy's property because of all this crazy stuff that was going on. Anyway, you guys go ahead.
I actually helped put those cameras up. when I was there in December, and Joanna was thrilled to have cameras up because that was going to be the end of it, the vandalism. Go ahead,
Joanna
Cindy.
is the one who was complaining about the vandalism, and I wasn't believing her, and it was making her angry, and she confronted me on it. And I said, well, I guess I should believe her. And if you believe somebody, well, then you're going to do something about the vandalism. And I spent a lot of money putting those cameras up. And okay, so the whole isolation thing, and Sandra, again, gullible Sandra, that, oh, she can't call the police because Cindy's listening to her, and she doesn't have any way to go anywhere. That's bullcrap. She has a phone. She can call the police. And in terms of her isolation, she's the one who didn't have a car. That's not on me. I tried, in fact, I just sent all the messages between Joanna and I to Justin. And there's one where it says, hey, you want to go to Bible study with Nathan and I tonight? Hey, another one says, you want to go to Julie's with me tonight? I wasn't isolating her. That's a bold-faced lie. And in terms of she might get shot or she might get raped if she walked to work. Okay, so she wanted to walk to work so that she didn't have to be a burden on me. And I said, and she had told me that there was one incident where she tried to walk up the street to the gas station and that some guy had pulled off of the road and tried to hit her. And that she was not walking on the shoulder, she was actually walking in the grass. And this person had pulled off the road, off the shoulder, into the grass, intentionally trying to kill her. And again, my first thought is, I doubt that. But my second thought is, well, I guess I gotta believe her. And so when she started talking about walking to work, I'm like, what, are you crazy? Somebody tried to kill you already, and you're going to do it again? And you're going to walk home from work when it's like, I don't know how many miles. We live in the country in the middle of nowhere. You're going to walk at night at 10:30 at night. You're going to walk home. I was trying to protect her, not isolate her. She's freaking lying through her teeth.
And her saying that she was going to walk to work, like there's no way she actually believed that she was going to be able to walk from your house all the way to Dollar General. No way. She was just trying to guilt trip you into giving her a ride or make you feel bad about not being able to give her a ride when it wasn't super convenient for you or for her.
The only time I didn't give her a ride is when I was in Florida working my own job. And that's when Julie helped out.
Yep.
And Nick and Julie had been afraid that Joanna was using me. And they said, don't pay her bills. Don't, take out of your own life. And so one of the things I did was I did make her pay me gas money to take her to work. She says I made her pay $20 a day to take her to Repton. No, it was $7. Anyway.
Which is an unbelievably cheap fare if you're to get a cab or an Uber. What is it? 15 miles about what you're driving? About 15 miles? That's a costly ride. $7 is a steal.
Yeah.
Might as well be a free ride.
Sorry, I muted myself. I was going to say delivery for Grubhub or whatever and Uber type stuff. That's all way more expensive than $7. Especially like the delivery stuff. They charge you like twice that much just for the delivery process.
And like Sal was saying earlier, Cindy would go out of her way. Cindy would be busy with lessons and then would have to drop everything she was doing to drive Joanna. And that doesn't sound at all like somebody who's got her trapped as like a prisoner on her property. It sounds like Cindy was bending over backwards to accommodate Joanna's needs.
Sal and I did the cellular biology shows at night. Okay, it was 9:30 at night. Like, I'm ready for bed. My eyes are starting to dry out. I'm ready to go night-night. And I have to get in the car and go get Joanna and then listen to her talk incessantly for an hour so that I'm not getting to bed until 11 or midnight. So
Yeah.
just
And actually, the reason I remember that was I was getting annoyed. It's like, Cindi, we're trying to defeat Aaron Ra. We're trying to, in the wake of the debate, we had business to take care of. And I said, okay, she granted me time because I had an axe to grind against our debate opponents. But that's why it stuck out in my head. I said, she's really caring for Johanna and making that a priority. And I said, God bless her,
And Julie too. I told Julie, I said, Julie, you don't have to do it for free, honey. She's making a paycheck. It's costing you money. And Julie wouldn't even charge her. I mean, come on.
Oh, what's this? Ooh, let's just put this on the screen. Cindi helped me personally to go out of state to the consulate when I was in dire need to, and even called multiple times to make sure I was safe on the road. That's a Christian.
Hi, Skylar. Thank you, honey.
Yes, and now that Skylar has given such a wonderful compliment, we're going to transition into the last clip that we'll be responding to. And boy, this one is so juicy that I myself actually have a response to it that I knew I just had to share with the entire world. So we're going to go ahead and use our magic screen sharing powers one more time to look at one more clip. Share audio, boom, Beluski, and go.
Sure, if you want.
I just wanted to say I'm really praying for Mark Stoney because I believe that he can be a very dynamic speaker. He's trying very hard to take care of his daughter, Mackenzie, and Julie and Nick and Cindi have damaged him and caused him to believe horrible things about Dr. Hovind. And I just wanted to make it clear that I was there when I was giving him, because I'm trained in massage therapy as well as a CNA therapist. I was giving him a massage, and Cindi was supposed to be homeschooling Mackenzie, a little girl of Mark's, his little girl. And Cindi got this idea to have Mackenzie go help and learn the type of massage. And I didn't think it was appropriate for a little girl to, I mean, they're innocent, and I'm not saying anything untoward was happening.
Sure you were. So, in that last clip, we see Johanna claim that the only reason Mark Stoney is exposing Kent Hovind is that Mark was led astray by Cindi, Julie, and Nick. She also claims that Cindi is the one who got Mark Stoney's daughter to give Kent Hovind a massage. Well, I will let Cindi and Mark respond to that first, and then I'm going to give Johanna just a little present that's going to not only expose her lies here, but I'm going to show that she sang a very different tune 9 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, go ahead, Cindi.
Thank you, TTOR.
Don't worry. She'll like this present. She'll recognize it very well, but go ahead.
Mark, I think you should go first.
Well, okay. So the massage thing. I found out about the fact that Kent Hovind was soliciting my daughter for these massages long after the fact, long after I had left Dinosaur Adventureland. And the only reason I found out is because I was having some pains in my back, and she was offering to give me a massage and told me that she was the best massager in the world. And I said, who in the world would tell you something like that? Because I've certainly never taught her anything about giving or receiving massages or anything like that. And she says, well, Kent Hovind told me because he used to let me massage his back. I'm like, oh my goodness. And that was my first clue about this happening. And, I was mad. I was very upset. I was upset with Cindi. I was upset with Kent. I was upset with Julie. Anybody that had been a part of that. I didn't even know who Johanna was privy to this at the time. But yeah, that's all been dealt with and settled. There wasn't anything that crossed the well, it was inappropriate. I'm going to say that. He shouldn't have had my daughter giving him massages, period.
Especially not without consulting you, because
right.
I'm pretty sure that didn't happen.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I didn't find out about it until later. But Cindi's apologized and explained her side of that. Julie has, and everybody else that was involved in all that has since, received the forgiveness that I've got to offer for that incident, because it did offend me. It made me very upset. Something that never should have happened with my daughter happened. And, it's not like I can go back and change that. So, Kent, what does Kent have to say about that? Like, I don't know if there was more to that clip. I don't think he's ever really addressed it, but he hasn't denied it. What's he going to try and say? Oh, it's perfectly innocent. A 4-year-old, 5-year-old girl giving me a massage without her parents' consent. I don't know, but yeah, I think it was wrong for Kent. I think it was a mistake for Cindi and apparently Johanna and Julie and all them who knew about it to allow it to happen. But at least they've come and reconciled that since, and I appreciate that, Cindi. I really do.
Before
a little bit.
I was going to say, before I transition to my present for Johanna, what do you want to say, Cindi?
When I was a little girl, my dad tried to get me to give him massages, and I was always very uncomfortable. And what I remember two things. So Kent Hovind got massage every single day because supposedly he had some injuries. And when I was first married, I did all of them more than once a day. And my thumbs were going out, my wrists were going out. So Julie had permission from her husband to help me. And then it became anybody who was available. Kent would just ask anybody and everybody, hey, will you give me a massage? Hey, will you give me a massage?
Slippery slope.
Really creepy.
And so there was one, and he had multiple places. Okay. He had issues in his feet. He had issues in his shoulder. He had issues on his thigh. He had issues on his back. I knew how to crack his back. Anyway, so at one point, there were 3 of us in there. It was Yulia, myself, and I don't remember, probably Julie. And, or maybe it was, I was tutoring Mackenzie and there were 3 different ladies. I don't remember. All I remember was it was like a family affair. There was a whole bunch of people in my house. And somehow I thought that Mackenzie, it would be like part of the family. I don't know if she asked to join or if Kent said, hey, Cindi, can you crack my back? Show these girls how to crack my back. And so then I'm pulled away from tutoring and Mackenzie's in the room with us. I don't remember all the details, but I remember because of my experience with my dad, my ears were perked. I was watching to make sure that she was not doing anything that she was not comfortable with. I was not going to permit that. And I remember a second instance where I was in the kitchen and he had asked her to rub something or other. And I was, again, my ears were perked. I was making sure.
And just hearing that perks my ears. Ask my daughter if he could rub something or another. And still just, I don't know. This whole subject kind of pisses me off. Not gonna lie.
And Johanna told me some things about the massages that she gave Kent months after it when we were here.
Oh, that's exactly what I want to talk about. So maybe we should transition into that part of the show.
Let me just finish this because this is freaking serious and I was really mad.
Okay.
She told me months later when we were living here that there was one time when she was giving Kent a massage and Mackenzie was in the room and that he full on his thing was showing. And I said, what? And you didn't tell me? What the heck are you doing? Not telling me until now. And she said, well, I knew I'd get kicked off campus or some bullcrap like that. But I'm not supposed to get really upset when I hear that. And she did a number of things like that where she would tell me things that happened at campus that she hadn't told me when we were living on campus. Because she knew I'd go to my husband and she'd get in trouble, I guess. I don't know. Or maybe it's just all a big fat lie. I have no clue. But there were just tons of red flags with Johanna. Tons of red flags with Johanna. her
All right.
stories. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. But yes, Johanna though is her best testament against herself, as we're about to see here in 1 second, because we're going to consult Kent Hovind's favorite person in the entire world, Robert Beatty. So we go to Robert Beatty's website. We got this article called "Something is Very Wrong at Dino Adventureland." There's a lovely picture of Johanna, and this is her testimony about all the Kent Hovind massages. My family and I were recruited like so many others and promised an eternal stay at DAL if we worked hard and supported DAL without question. As good soldiers, we were not to complain. We were to not complain at anything asked to do or any inconveniences like no air conditioning or heat. If I wanted to get warm or cool, I could go in his bedroom and give him a massage, Kent Hovind said. Many were. He would especially ask married women or very young children. I was told there would always be a witness and that it would be in the seventh day restroom. The only restroom I worked at was the men's room on hands and knees cleaning it. Men mocked me, which Kent Hovind thought was very funny when I said they remarked I should live in the toilet. Anything to break and demean us. I came to DAL from a prosperous Hawaiian family business helping people in the community with landscaping and CNA therapy care, as well as teaching sustainability. Right away, I realized he needs control and fear of just a few chosen can stay. At first, Kent Hovind was very friendly and respectful. About 1 week into the massage therapy, of which there was always a group of women, I received a shocking phone message from one massage that made it sound, from his strange remarks, like a harem fantasy. Things like, "Oh, that feels so good," grunt, "rub a little lower." Nothing untoward was happening, but that's not what he made it sound like. I was treated like a whore and shunned. I was often sick to my stomach, and the steady camp diet of Kool-Aid made my teeth problems rapidly deteriorate. Kent Hovind promised before I gave my money to DAL that he would pay, always did, for any dental as DAL took good care of its workers. Just talking about this makes me very ill. At this point, Kent Hovind tried forcing me to give private massages to friends he had and go with him to their homes. I said no. I also refused 2 marriages, illegal ones, to strangers. He told me to watch how a friend of his, a child molester named Brady, gave him what I thought were very sleazy, inappropriate massages. I said, no, I will not put my head between your legs nor rub anything I think is inappropriate. Kent Hovind said it was just cramps he got, and it was a coincidence that the area is called the love button to sexually aroused men. He made me watch him have a young child, a little girl, rub his inner thigh there, and he had a noticeable arousal as he was only wearing red trunks. Earlier, after making me lift and twist impossible tasks, he threatened to kick me out. My back was so hurt I could hardly move. He said, "Sit in my lap in my hot tub, I will rub your back." I do not think any married man, pastor or not, should ask a woman or child that. I am in lots of pain now due to my teeth. He promised to pay for my dental work again, saying friends wanted private massage. I said no and had the teeth pulled out with what money I had left. After Cindi Lincoln left, or rather was forced out, Kent Hovind called me again to his bedroom. He showed me his big bed and said how alone he was. I said, if you are lonely, listen to the KJV Bible on tape, or call Cindi and say, I am sorry, I love you. Not, I'm sorry that I love you, but I am sorry. And together, you both can pray and work things out. Then you can have Cindi to make love to you on your bed. I was told about 2 days after this, he went on YouTube giving my number out, saying that I am a street woman, a whore from Pensacola, Florida. 2 questions. 1, if that's true, why do I have a Hawaiian number, as one man asked me who he'd given my number to? 2, what kind of married man, pastor, or other invites street whores and little children into his bedroom for private massages? Then we see Robert Beatty put the disclaimer on the article saying that she has a reputation for lying and spinning tales. And then she responds to Robert Beatty in Facebook Messenger saying that him putting the disclaimer there basically negates her entire testimony. And then she went on to, of course, condemn Robert Beatty on Facebook. So the question I have at this point for Johanna regarding the whole massage thing and everything she just said about Mark's daughter, the question I have for Johanna at this point is, are you lying now when you say all that stuff, or were you lying 8 months ago when you said what you wrote in that article? Which one is it?
Probably both. Yeah. Because here's the deal. All right. Yeah, my daughter probably gave Kent some foot massages, probably rubbed his back a little bit, but there was nothing that would cross a line of becoming any kind of sexual intent in that. My daughter and I have been through therapy over this stuff for months, and she's spoken to investigators about this, forensic investigators, and nothing that crossed any kind of legal line happened. Now, the fact that she was in there with him massaging his back without any kind of permission or consent from me, not that I would have given it, that crossed a line with me. That crossed a huge line with me. And keep in mind, Kent's going to say that I didn't start coming out against him until I got butthurt. And yeah, I'm pretty damn butthurt about having a grown man have my daughter giving him massages. I think any father would be. But that is not why I started coming out against Kent. I didn't even find out about that until long after the fact. I had already started making my videos talking about what happened with Chris Jones. I had already started making videos about Paul Hansen and what he discovered. Like, that was already well in the works. So to say that, I'm butthurt and that's why I started all this, or that Cindi has fired me up, or that any of these other people, no, I had my own experience. I went through my own trials with Kent, and I learned the hard way for myself what he was really about. And it just so happens to be that everybody else has been through the Kent Hovind gauntlet, has very similar opinions to mine. Anybody that's been there for any amount of time that's left, they're pretty much going to tell you the same story. He's not genuine. He's not who he appears to be on YouTube. He will use you until there's nothing left, and he'll kick you to the curb. And that's been the consistent testimony from people since long before I even got mixed up with Kent Hovind.
I have a playlist on my channel called Kent Hovind Exposed by numerous former employees. There's tons. And like Mark said, we all have the same testimony. He's not.
Yeah, and throwing my 10 cents in on those responses. I never was at DAL ever, so I don't have that firsthand experience like you guys do. But I have observed Kent Hovind on the internet, and I basically identified him as an unsaved heretic and a false teacher just based on the theology and the behaviors he had before all this crazy stuff happened. Like when he was just about to get out of prison, he went on to Lone Star 1776's YouTube channel and taught that repentance was not part of salvation. That set off all the red flags in my head, and I instantly knew who he was as far as his salvation was concerned.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I find out like a year or two later that he's going through wives like toilet paper. I'm like, yeah, I think he's violating all the biblical commands about marriage and divorce and, basically committing all kinds of sins in that regard, because Jesus said that you can't divorce anyone unless they were unfaithful to you in the marriage. And as far as we know, I mean, we know, I'm pretty sure Cindi didn't, but as far as we know, as far as the other wives go, they weren't unfaithful to Kent in any kind of sexual way, which would have been the one thing that would have allowed him to move on from those wives to others, but yet he did it anyway. So yeah, I knew based off of just his marriage patterns and his theology regarding repentance, I knew from those that he was not the guy he portrayed himself on the internet. And it seems like over the years, it's just getting worse and worse and worse, especially with all the disgusting garbage that we've found under his facade as far as his inner circle and the way he treats his workers at DAL and doesn't compensate them properly and all the other crazy cult stuff that he does.
I would like to say something. I wish that I would have been as wise. I was too generous in allowing lenience for him. The repentance issue now at this point is huge because I'm seeing how he is so eager to include people like Steve Lynn in salvation without requiring any repentance, and the pedophiles. He claimed that Brady had said sorry, which is I don't see any evidence for that.
No, what he said about Brady, it was 30 years ago. He didn't get caught, and it doesn't matter.
Yep.
Well, there is one point about repentance that I did want to bring up because I think a lot of Christians are confused by it. And that is, Kent says that we can never repent for every single sin because we don't even know what every single sin is. And there's a slight truth to that. But you you can't continue in blatant sin and claim to be following the Lord.
Should we continue in sin that grace may abound? God forbid.
Oh, lovely, lovely things. So anyway, we've gone through every part because there's like a whole nother 2 hours to that thing, and we don't need to go through that based off of just what we've covered so far. So I'm going to go ahead and open this room up to whoever's still watching. And if you want to join the room and talk about stuff, we have about another 30 minutes to 45 minutes if we even go that long. So I'll just go ahead and slap that in the comments there. Anyone who wants to join us can.
And one thing I wanted to bring up, you know, Kent's talking about recently. He says that I spend all day, every day making videos about Kent, producing videos and stuff. I have a live stream on my channel that runs 24/7. It doesn't require any effort on my part other than what I've already put in, which was to construct it and gather different videos. If I wanted a YouTube channel that was 100,000 subscribers, I certainly wouldn't be doing it to trying to get 100,000 subscribers covering Kent Hovind. That's for sure. Nobody's going to get YouTube fame and glory by covering Kent Hovind. It's just not going to happen. But that's not what I'm after anyway. I don't really care about the subs. I don't care about the views. You know, I do appreciate when I get a subscription. I do appreciate when I get positive feedback from my viewers, but that's not my bread and butter. That's not what I'm focused on. That's not even my ministry. My ministry, first and foremost, is to my daughter. I'm a single father, a widowed father of an 8-year-old little girl, and she takes a lot of my effort and attention. And you know, that is first and foremost my number one ministry is to my kid and my family. So, you know, Kent wants to talk about all I ever do is tear down and all that. No, I'm building something, but I'm not going to sit here and just like put it on public display how great a father I am. Look how many times I made dinner and all this, you know, like Kent does with his ministry. You know, it's just what's expected. You're expected to be a good father. You're expected to, you know, teach your kids this and that. And I do homeschool my kids. So there's another level. So it's completely disingenuous and dishonest for Kent to say that I spend all my time and effort, because trust me, if I put all my energy and effort into building a YouTube channel, I'd have more than 400 subscribers. I'd have more than a couple hundred views here and there, but I don't, because that's not what's important to me. It is important to me to be able to speak the truth and let people know about my experience with Kent, but only to the degree that I'm engaging in this kind of stuff maybe once or twice a month, as far as making videos, as far as doing live shows. Like I haven't even had a live show on my channel in a while. So, you know, point to the numbers all you want. It doesn't matter. I don't care. That doesn't bother me. It really doesn't. And I think Cindi would say the same. I think Sal would say the same, and same for you, TTR, that it's not about the views. It's not about the subscriptions. It's not about the numbers. It's about the truth and how that impacts people's lives in reality. You know, you can say whatever you want on YouTube, but what it really boils down to is how do you treat the people around you? And we've seen the evidence of how Kent treats people in the aftermath.
I would like to say something too, as far as Mark's priorities being his daughter. That's supposed to be Kent's priority. That's supposed to be the priority of a Christian, which is why one of the reasons why we're doing this, because Kent is putting up a false doctrine on that. You don't throw your wife under the bus. Your wife, your daughter, your family, they're supposed to be your first ministry, not your abuse victims. And secondly, I wanted to say that when Mark was first trying to go public, obviously fame was not his intent, because all he did was take the documents he was finding and put them up on Robert Beatty. And a lot of people don't even watch Robert Beatty. And I was frustrated by that, because I'm like, wait, they need a bigger audience. But he just wanted it out. He didn't even have a channel at that point.
I had a channel. I just hadn't uploaded anything. And the only reason I even had the channel to begin with was for storage. I used to fly drones and I took videos of that, and I was using YouTube as a storage. I wasn't doing any kind of production, any kind of editing or anything until, I had a reason to. And I think it's a very just and noble cause to stand up against heretics, false teachers, and abusers in the pulpit. I feel like that's exactly what we've been doing.
Amen.
All right, I just need a second before I add Skybry over there. I just need to find one particular slide I have. Where is it? It's a thing I use to vet people. Do you guys
he's
know
legit.
who?
Yeah, he's legit.
All right, well, if Mark Stoney gives you the vouch, hiya! There you go. You there,
Hello,
Sky?
Tyler.
Sorry about that. I've got an inline mic button, mute button too. I was muted myself. My bad.
Okay. So, Sky, I saw some of your comments in the stream on YouTube. What's your relation to the whole Kent Hovind compound, Cindi, Mark, and all that? What's your relation to it?
I visited. I went to DAL in 2019.
You were there
Somewhere
for a
around
number
that
of
time.
months.
Yeah, you were there about a year.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I was there for about a year.
A little more than a visit.
Man, I can't remember the exact date. I am a very date-oriented person. I apologize. I believe it to be August of 2019 is when I got there. I believe. Not 100% sure on that, so don't really hold me to that. But the first thing I want to say is I might have lied on accident. Oh, I mean, not a purposeful lie. I might have lied about Joanna's RV situation in stating that we were all very afraid to move it for the very first time. But what I was talking about was her first RV trailer, and that picture in that video that you were playing was of an RV, a mobile home, not a trailer. I was talking about a trailer, not a drivable RV. So I might have mixed that up. I might have got the wrong RV there on that subject.
Yeah, Joanna has a new RV since she was living in that one at DAL, but they're both in equally terrible condition. So
I was going to say the same thing. I think both the trailer and the RV were both very dirty and very sleazy.
The trailer was structurally unsound. The trailer, we were so very afraid to even pick it up because the rear end of the trailer, past rearward of the axles, was broken in half, going to break the trailer in half. We were so afraid to move it. To the point where I literally put forks under the rear end of the trailer while going forward with the trailer. That's how bad a shape it was in. And she was legitimately actually ecstatic about the trailer, which might conflict with some of her, prominence or wealth saying in regards to her Hawaiian thing. Now, off the subject of Joanna, though, because all I got to say about Joanna specifically, I don't really generally want to get involved in all this. And Sal, as a matter of fact, by way of one of Chuck's streams that I just so happen to be invited to, knows that I legitimately defend Kent Hovind. Okay, in a manner of speaking, I absolutely do not agree with Kent Hovind in several instances. Mr. Stoney there is one of my very, very dearest friends I've ever in my entire existence met, and I've told him, look, man, I just know, I just happen to know that perverseness towards his daughter was not his legitimate intent. And we're talking about his daughter, which is like a niece to me. I just know that wasn't his. I mean, no, you shouldn't ask a kid to massage you, but it wasn't like a Chris Jones intent. So, I mean, I've defended Kent in several situations, but at the same time, I'm extremely experienced in psychoanalysis in a very security-related manner and first-hand experience and life or death manner. So I've got a pretty decent accuracy rate in psychoanalysis. But Kent is so, for one, very wrong. But Kent is so oblivious to the world surrounding him, legitimately. So this man is so very innocently guilty guilty, but innocently guilty. And what I'm saying is he's retarded. He has no discernment. I apologize. I see Sal kind of chuckling. I don't know any other words to say. I apologize. I'm not a very publicly correct person. I was a sailor. I'm trying to watch my language for you, which doesn't make any sense to me, considering you're, I mean, cahoots isn't really the word I'm looking for, but I mean, Brett, you and Brett King, Brett has a more foul language than me, and he porn bombs people. He shows every which way from Sunday that he's not a Christian at the same time as proclaiming to be Christian. So, things like that. But anyways, with Kent, this man is not only narcissistic, he is legitimately, he is God in his world, in the manner of that's all I can say about this man. I don't know any other words to relay this. He is the only reason that man is not dead. I am very, very serious, very not joking. The only reason that man is not dead is because he is very innocently guilty. He's mentally retarded. He has no idea what he did. Whenever he relayed, and I'm very serious about this, he relayed classified technology. Not only did he relay a nation's classified technology, weapon, he relayed the location of it. He relayed our targets. He relayed what it effing does. He relayed everything live online. And this man had no idea, legitimately, that he just committed treason against God's people. Okay? He just endangered my home, as a matter of fact. And I'm not just talking about the state of Israel. I am talking about my very specific region that I am blood from. Okay? He endangered my blood family, which happens to be God's chosen people, and he has no idea that he did it, or had no idea that he did it. Now, he took that, the video, Steve Lynn, actually, I mean, he did say to do it, Hovind did say to do it. Steve Lynn took that video down, edited it, and then re-uploaded it as not a live stream, but an edited video, and they did take it down. But the man had no idea that he did it, and that's what I'm saying. That's what he does, no matter what. The only thing that is on that man's mind at any given moment of any given day is legitimately Hovind. It's like, it's insane. The man is he's not even that intelligent. I mean, legitimately, I'm talking about intelligence quotient. If you want to actually mark not mark the name. I mean, if you want to actually mark down a number for his intelligence quotient is legitimately only a marker of your processing ability. It's like a CPU. How many megahertz or gigahertz is your CPU? Okay, that's an intelligence quotient number. Now, the whole deal behind this is the man is dumb. I cannot. The man is dumb.
Hey, let me jump in here real quick. I've got to get up. I got to go. My butt is wore out. I've been sitting in this chair all morning. I got to get up, walk, have a break. So I'm gonna call it here. You guys, thanks for having me. TTOR, I really do appreciate it. And what Skylar's talking about, that all happened. I was there for that too. So it's a long-winded story, but it is true. So if it's worth listening to. But anyway, I'm gonna check out. I really appreciate you having me on, and I hope we can do this again sometime.
Yeah, if Kent decides to go public and say more stupid lies, then we'll probably do another one of these.
All right.
Especially if it's about you.
All right. Take care, guys. Thanks for having me.
Peace.
Now, also, especially since Mark is no longer listening at this very moment, at least, Kent really had a thing against Mark prior to the whole. I almost said Kent Hovind thing. Prior to the whole Chris Jones fiasco, debacle, whatever you want to call that, in a publicly correct terminology. Now, Kent really kind of had a hard-on against Mark Stoney because of his theology and whatnot, and he would suppress him till finally Mark just kind of gave up, as a matter of fact, and went ahead and, gone and did his thing, which is the Christian thing to do according to the New Testament of the Bible, the Holy Bible. So, you're supposed to, according to the New Testament, and I'm a Jew, by the way. I am not even a Christian. I am a Jew, just a very horrible Jew that eats bacon. So,
we all eat bacon.
But the whole the New Testament, I spent 8 months in a life or death manner, as a matter of fact. I spent 8 months not only studying theology, Christianity, theology, the King James Version of the Bible, but several texts from Textus Receptus, Greek Septuagint, Masoretic text, everything legitimately. And 8 months, 12 hours a day, literally 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, 8 months long and it's not even to become a Christian. It was to, pretend to be a Christian. Long story, never mind. What I used to do for a living is one thing. But anyways, the whole deal is that is what the Bible says. Legitimately. That is what the New Testament says. That is what the Holy Bible says, is you are supposed to support one another. That is what church is, as a matter of fact. Church is not a building. Church is a gathering to worship. Not only worship God, but create, instill, and bounce back and forth your ideas or your view sets with each other. You are supposed to commend one another. You are supposed to uplift one another. You are supposed to help each other worship, etc. Kent suppresses people if it is not Kent's specific ideology, no matter what it is, in any way, shape, or form. You could be a pre-dispensationalist. You could be pre-tribulation rapture, post-tribulation rapture. Whatever, it doesn't matter. You can't talk about anything you cannot talk about anything in any way, shape, or form if it does not 100% wholly in line agree with Kent's exact theology. You can't even be pre-trib rapture versus post-trib rapture, and speak about it. Which is kind of understanding in one way. You're, as a pastor, okay, he's not even legitimately a pastor, but either way, as a pastor, you're supposed to, you're supposed to guide your flock, but he's not even, idol isn't the word I'm looking for, role model. He's not even a role model to his flock, even. Everything he does, and man, I will say about Joanna's comment about, I'm not really talking about Joanna, I'm really talking about Kent, but Joanna's comment about trying to force her into marriages and whatnot, he really is kind of that way. He likes to not only play matchmaker. I've been celibate, as a matter of fact, I was celibate for 15 years. 100% celibate. Not even a religious thing, just celibate. When I say celibate, I mean real celibate. I've only had sex one time my entire existence. I'm 35 years old. I've had sex one time, and that was 16 years ago. I hadn't even been on a date since. I was drunk on alcohol and intoxicated on marijuana, and it was a party.
Let me guess. Kent tried to set you up with a girl.
Several. Oh my gosh, several. Several. He really is that way. But the man doesn't think about anything. He baptizes people without, man, especially with baptism. Especially with baptism, you are just supposed to be sure that that person is ready to at least try to walk in their faith. And baptismal is really just a projection. Honestly, it's just kind of like a ceremony, truthfully. Baptism is just a ceremony. It's an outward public portrayal of your faith. You're born again. You must be baptized by blood, then by water, as a proclamation. So But the thing is, gosh dang, he is retarded. I don't know any other way to say it. This man, uh, dude, I will come right out and say that man is not a child molester, but holy crap, he sure is an enabler. Pedo enabler, Mark's famous words, yeah, very, 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 very pedo enabler, by all means. And I really kind of do believe that it's because he really does believe that they want to change or be right or nice or kind or etc. I'm not 100% sure. I just don't.
I think you're onto something there, though, because if you saw my second Kent Hovind Chris Jones expose, you probably saw Kent Hovind admit to committing a Class A misdemeanor according to Alabama law as his defense of Chris Jones. And at the same time, getting Chris Jones, or admitting that Chris Jones committed a Class C felony. Yeah,
Yes.
It's just really, his best defense of Chris Jones was to literally admit to Class C felony and Class A misdemeanor. And I'm thinking, wow, did Ken even think about this before he decided to go on the air and say all that?
No, he doesn't think about anything in any way, shape, or form. I told that man it was highly illegal. That very first time, he came with the boy. Chris came with Sair. I told Kent, what you did was not legally protecting yourself in any way, shape, or form. It's even worse, as a matter of fact. You could have put Sair more safely, legally speaking. You could put Sair more safely in the man cave, as a matter of fact, than putting him in a empty house off property, nobody else inside there. You gave him a room to rape the kid in. Literally. But he didn't think of it that way, and he literally looked up and to the right. I mean, his eyeballs looked up and to the right and went, oh yeah, I probably really did just do that. And then didn't know what to do about it after the fact. And then what happens? So I really do apologize to be as vocal. And I've never, as a matter of fact, legitimately, this is the very first time in any way, shape, or form I've ever talked about Kent Hovind on one of these videos, on any of your guys's. Like I said with Chuck, the only reason I mentioned Kent in any way, shape, or form on the Chuck's program that Sal was a part of and whatnot was because it was look, I'm the guy that defends Kent in some instances by way of saying he's freaking retarded. I mean, he's innocently guilty in so many things, it's asinine. And but at the same time, when does it stop? At some point, you have to admit that this man is guilty. I have to admit that this man is guilty by way of he doesn't stop being innocently guilty. He continues to go on and do these guilty things, even if it is innocence. He has so much lack of discernment and lack of understanding, and he's oblivious to literally everything, apparently, that you have to claim this man's got to be possessed or something. I don't know any other way to explain it.
I wouldn't say possessed, but as I explained earlier in the stream, I think Kent does show a lot of the characteristics of a psychopath. So I'm going to be doing a separate video about that sometime in the future.
I don't even think he's a pathological liar, truthfully. I really don't. I don't even think he's a pathological liar. And I'm very heavily experienced in psychoanalysis. And it took me 3 weeks to realize that this man is wholeheartedly crazy. I mean, really, not psychopath crazy. Like you're talking about he might legitimately be a psychopath. And I'm not saying that he's not a psychopath, but I mean, it took me 3 weeks of interacting with this man to realize that his brain is somewhere else. It is not on this planet Earth.
Yeah, well, plus, how old is he again? Isn't he in his mid-late 70s?
I believe he was 67 in 2019. I believe he was 67 in 2019. Don't hold me to that. But
so he's probably early 70s then.
Yeah. So the man's not in the best of. Well, he's in quite decent physical health and whatnot for his age, sure. But the man's also, kind of deteriorating in other ways.
The mind is a different story, is what you're saying.
Right, and he's deteriorating. But at the same time, Hovind. That's all. It's all that's on his mind. I did excavation work. I did excavation and land shaping work. You know, machinery work on the property. And this man would come 4 different times per day to get me to tell me to do exact opposite of what he just told me to do, and I was already working on. Like, I mean, the man is not 100%
there.
Yeah, he really. I honestly think he's just deteriorating. But man, it comes to a certain point where you just can't even defend this guy by saying he's innocently guilty. When you continue and continue, okay, it's like repentance. Repentance is not just, you know, saying I apologize, God, I apologize.
It's not just words you say; it's an actual change in heart. Because anyone can profess those things, but you have to actually have a change of heart to live it out.
Correct. So, and son of a gun, I'm a Jew. I'm a Jew, and that man has said that Mark Stoney is an Aryan. You know, what?
Well, plus, in the Old Testament, in the book of Ezekiel, there's a whole spiel about repentance that's basically a carbon copy of the New Testament theology. So,
oh, sure. Yeah, but I just, he comes up with some of the most off-the-wall things I've ever seen. It really is. Man, I don't know. I'm at a loss for words. 100%, I'm at a loss for words.
Well,
100%.
No one else is joining the room, so I'm going to go ahead and end the stream right here. But thanks for joining, Sky, and hopefully those of you who have stuck with us to the end, hopefully you enjoyed watching this particular stream tonight.
And
God bless.
I do also apologize for rambling or being scrambled here.
That's okay. I was kind of giving other people a chance to join, but it looks like that's not going to happen. So I'm going to go ahead and end it here. Peace out, everyone.